Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it might be in your part of the world. I feel like we haven't done a live in a minute. We've been busy. We've had a lot going on. But I wanted to jump on today and talk to you about something that I get questioned about all the time. And it's called keyframing. And some of you may know what keyframing it is. Some of you might be struggling with keyframing. DaVinci Resolve has changed since the advent of version 20, the way that keyframing is shown. Especially on the edit page, it's changed quite a bit. So that's opened up a bunch of different questions from people about how to use it and when to use it and how to use it effectively. And yeah, so I thought we'd jump on and talk about some of those things and see if I can bring some clarity, not just to the new features and where they are, but how to use keyframing in general, how to use it effectively so that you can get things to move on screen the way you want them to. Let me just double check here. How are we doing for audio? Does everything sound good? Can you hear me okay, everybody? Megan, yell at me if I don't sound good. Good to see a lot of familiar faces out there. Tish, the artist Haven, good to see you, my friend. We've been talking about keyframing on the channel quite a bit. And in general, if you are keyframing, let me see if I can show you the software here. If you've got something going on in your project, I'm going to mute this just so you don't hear this project noise right now. I've got a clip here that I've got from one of our good pals, our sponsor, Storyblocks. And it's just a bunch of people that are wandering around in some kind of an area, right? Some kind of a courtyard or out in public. And that's the footage right there. That's the whole footage. And if you just look at it, it's just full screen. I've got a 16:9 project. But a lot of times you might want to do something like, hey, I just want to zoom in on one person. And I don't know how to zoom in and then sort of stay zoomed in and then maybe zoom back out later on. Those are the kind of things where keyframing comes into play. Now, if you don't know what keyframing is, and I know a lot of you already do, keyframing is basically whenever you tell the software to do something. This can be zooming in, zooming out. It can be taking your footage and panning it left and right. It can be things like the volume of your audio if you want it to get louder and then get quieter. It can be everything all the way up to color grading. You can take your color grading for your clip and you can say, hey, I want it to start out in black and white and then slowly fade into color. The ability to get the software to do all these commands is what we call keyframing. And keyframing is sort of like sticky notes that place little sets of directions along your timeline so that as your footage plays, you tell it things like, at this point, I want my volume to get louder by 2 decibels and stay that much louder. So you need little keyframes in there that have those little information points. And it's funny, when I talk about keyframing a lot, people sometimes get confused and go, I just can't wrap my head around keyframing. And one of the things that I like to compare it to is almost like how many of you guys have used, I'm sure most of you have phones and you've used navigation on your phone before. This is kind of like a very similar thing, right? So if you were on your phone, right? Here's my phone and I've got some navigation plugged in. Let's say we were going to try to go from, maybe to Boston International Airport. If you wanted to get there, what would happen is it would start giving you instructions. If you said navigate to the airport, you go, perfect, I need instructions. And it would start giving you a breakdown of what to do, take a turn, how many miles away it is, right? Just like the way that your navigation would work on your phone, where it's like, go to the end of the street, take a left, drive for 1 mile, then take a right, and it sort of walks you through what you need to do. Keyframes are a lot like that. They're sort of just instructions for the software to say, okay, on this piece of footage, what I need you to do is, zoom in for 1 minute, and then zoom back out. And every time we do stuff like that, those little changes, each of those new directions is a keyframe. So I'm going to use this little piece of footage that we have here and kind of show you what I mean really simply, and hopefully this will make some sense. So let's say I've got the entire timeline. This is one clip. You can see all I have there is one clip. So I'm going to just pull it out so you can see the whole clip. Let's say this thing is full screen. Let me zoom down just a little bit out, right about, so we can see the whole clip, right about there. No, zoom out and stay zoomed out, silly. There we go. So we have this clip, and let's say I wanted it to play for a few seconds, let's say this long, this amount of time. And at this point, I wanted to zoom in on one of these people and get closer zoomed in on that person. Could be anybody, right? What I would need to do is, because you see how the playhead right here, we've gone from the beginning to where the playhead is, and it's however many frames in that is right there. We want all of this section to stay zoomed out. So the way we would do that is just go to the upper right. I'm up here in that's in the transform option. I have this clip selected. That's why it's highlighted in red. And if I go all the way up here, this is the transform option, the inspector for that clip. I can set a keyframe. And the way I set a keyframe is all these little diamonds right here. Now, each one of these, like the zoom X and Y, that's sort of like the zoom in and out. The position X and Y, that's sort of the motion left and right if I wanted to pan left and right on screen. Rotation, pitch, yaw, flipping, all of that stuff. They each have their own keyframes by each one, so you could choose to either say, well, I'm only going to zoom, so I only want to use the zoom keyframe right here. And you could put a single zoom keyframe. If you notice this one on top of it activates, that's sort of just telling you that one of the transform options has been activated. There's another thing you can do, is you can actually click on that top one and it'll activate all of the different ones all the way down for the transform options. It's sort of a shortcut to go, listen, I might be moving it left and right, up and down, zooming it in. And when you get into that position, a lot of times I'll put a keyframe at the top to say, everything that's going on with this clip to this point, lock that in. And once I put that keyframe there, and let's say I wanted to zoom in, what I would do is I'd go down to the timeline and I would move my playhead forward the amount of time or the amount of frames that I would have decided I would like it to zoom in. At this point, I want it all the way zoomed in on a specific person. So let's say I've moved the playhead forward, right? So let's go up. And we will grab the transform option here. And all I'm doing is I'm left clicking because these are linked. See that little link? It's linking the X and Y zoom together. So you can left click in the numbers box, hold, and drag it to the right. And now you'll see how it's zooming in. Let's just let it zoom in on that one person right here, just because they're dead center. So now what I have done is I have zoomed in. And if you notice, because I have changed the value of the zoom from the point previous where I set my first keyframe, it's added another keyframe only on the zoom because that's the only thing I've changed, right? So now what's happening is if I play through this sort of beginning section, watch, it's going to play, it's staying zoomed out, boom, it zooms into the point of that second keyframe, and then it stays there because I haven't told it what else to do. I've just set 2 keyframes. Now, finding those keyframes can be tricky. They used to, in the previous versions, they had down in the lower right section of the clip, you'd have like a little diamond right in that lower right corner. It looked like the keyframe diamond. And you could click on it and it would open up the keyframes right below that clip in your timeline. But since version 20, they've updated and they've given us some different options. They have up here at the very top, see it says keyframes? They have this new Keyframe Editor window right here. But they also have down here, just above your timeline in the lower left, another little diamond shape. And that's called the Keyframe Tray. And it's the one that I tend to use a little more frequently when I'm on a single monitor. A lot of you guys are editing on like a laptop or something with a single monitor. And what this does, if I click it, can you see down below? I'm going to left click and hold on the divider and just lift this up so you can see it. What this does is it puts all those keyframes and all the definitions of what they are right in your timeline below your clip. So if you select your clip here, there's all those keyframes, right? They're right there. And this is the reason I like this one is because remember in the previous version, we used to have the keyframes in the timeline itself, and they were aligned with what was happening with the playhead. So you could physically go, here's my clip. I'm looking at my clip right here. It's staying completely zoomed out until it hits this first keyframe, right? And then as I move forward to the second one, it is now zooming in because I've changed the zoom value on that second keyframe. And when it gets to that keyframe, it stops and it stays zoomed in. So pretty simple stuff, right? All of that stuff down below. Everything before the first keyframe tells it to this point, stay zoomed out. and then between the zoomed full screen to the second point where I zoomed in, just by setting how much I wanted the zoom in to be on that second point, Resolve goes ahead and it does the motion automatically. So I'm just saying full screen, a little bit later on, zoomed in this much, and it does the difference. It'll do that nice slow animation. You don't have to say like, slowly zoom in. It just does it automatically because you've changed those positions. So there's your zoom in. And this is a little bit different for a lot of people. I think there's been some confusion as to, how these features work. You can use either one. You can use this right now. I've turned on the keyframe window up here. And it has it up here. It's very similar. You can still kind of move things. Well, not that one. I want to move. Let me go pop this out so you can see it. I'm going to pop this out. This is actually the keyframe window popped out. This is the Keyframe Editor. So you've got your playhead, and it's actually showing you two windows. This one down here. See where there's the dots? They call that the lanes. And they call the other one, I'm going to make it easier and show you down with the one below the screen here. Let me move all of this up so you can see a little bit better. You'll see me doing this a lot. I'm readjusting the UI, the user interface. And if you look, if I hover my mouse, can you see my mouse? It's right above the keyframe tray. If you hover right on the divider lines, left click and hold, you can extend and expand those windows so you can see more of it. So again, right now you're seeing the keyframes. If I wanted to move those keyframes, like I went, oh, that zoom in happened too quickly. That's a question I get a lot from people. Like, okay, you did the zoom. What if you wanted to speed up your zoom or slow down your zoom? One of the things that can be confusing is that when you set keyframes, no matter where you set them, the trick to getting motion to be either faster or slower is literally the distance between the keyframes. Right? So if you had a keyframe that said, here's full screen, and here is where I want it to be zoomed in to twice as much, as it was at the original, the distance between those two keyframes, how many frames apart they are, defines the speed. If you wanted that zoom in to be slower, you'd push those keyframes farther apart. And if you wanted the zoom in to be faster, you'd push them closer together. And that's true of anything, any motion. If you're panning left and right, up and down, in and out, whatever the motion is, if you're rotating your clip, whenever you want to change the speed of whatever you're keyframing, the distance between two keyframes defines the speed of that animation or motion or whatever you're keyframing. So keep that in mind. And if we do that in real time, if I go down to these two keyframes, cool thing about this keyframe tray and the keyframe editor is you can, let's say I wanted this zoom to be slower. See how it kind of goes a little quick? I can actually grab, I'm just left clicking in the gray area and drawing a box. Can you see that? Around all those second keyframes. They're now all highlighted. And I can just left click and hold and move them farther apart. Let me pull it way over here, right? And because I've moved them farther apart, now this zoom is going to be a lot slower. It's happening over more frames later in the timeline. You're telling it, hey, don't be all the way zoomed in until you get farther down into the project, which is way over here. If I wanted to be faster, I could do the same thing. Draw a little box, left click and hold to select all those keyframes, left click, hold, and pull them closer together. And then I can do like super fast zoom, like, wham, right in. Kind of simple stuff, right? That's just little instructions. And if I wanted to say, oh, let's stay zoomed in. I want to stay zoomed in here. And I want to go maybe about here where she starts walking out of screen. I would like to start zooming back out. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're first using keyframes is they go, okay, my playhead is here. This is where I'd like it to be zoomed back out to the full screen. So they put their playhead there, and then they go up to the upper right inspector. I'm up here again, guys, right up here. And I'm going to pull this all the way back to, I'm going to pull it back to, you can type it into, to 1 is the full screen. And you go, okay, there you go. I've zoomed back out. But watch what happens though. This zooms in quickly, but immediately starts zooming back out. See, it's not waiting there. The minute it went in, it started pulling right back out. The reason it's doing that is we didn't set another keyframe to tell it stay zoomed in. And that's one of the things that we use a lot. A lot of times when you see my tutorials, I'll zoom into like one corner of DaVinci Resolve and I'll be focusing on click here, do this, watch for this, and then I'll zoom back out to show you the rest of what's happening in the project. So the thing you want to do, let me delete these. I'm just going to draw a box around those. I'm going to hit the delete key. All those keyframes that I just put in there last go away. What you'd want to do is say, okay, I zoomed in here. I would like it to stay zoomed in to, let's say, this point where my playhead is. I need to go to the upper right and I need to add another keyframe, whether that's up top or the zoom. Let it know you need to stay zoomed in here. And when I do that, you can see it adds a keyframe right there. That's when you have to add manually, because now it'll say, okay, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to stay zoomed in from that keyframe all the way to this one because no changes have been made. Now from there, I want to zoom out. It's almost like doing the opposite of what we did in the beginning. Go put your playhead to where you'd like it to be zoomed all the way out, and then go to the upper right transform right up there. And let's pull that back. We'll set that for 1. 1 is the full value. Now it's zoomed completely back out. So if it plays through, you'll see from the beginning, zoomed out, zooms in quickly, stays zoomed in because we've added that other one to say, don't zoom back out yet, stay here, then move back out. That's real simple in and out motion. And you can do that for left and right, up and down, all of these other things that are in the upper right inspector here, because position X, that's going to move that left and right. If I were to left click and hold here, watch the preview window. I'm going to stay in this box. I'm going to move that left. You see how the footage is moving left and right? And if I went over to the Y value, that's going to move it up and down. I shouldn't turn my zoom off so that see if that's going up and down. This one on the X is left and right. Those control left and right. And all the other stuff is pretty obvious too. There's a rotation angle. You can rotate the footage. You can change the pitch. The pitch is more like it throws it forward and back. Kind of do this neat pitch thing like this. And then the yaw is the same kind of thing, but it goes left and right. It's like, think about holding like a picture. Pitch would be tilting it forward and backward, and then yaw is sort of twisting it left and right. Watch what happens when I do the yaw. See how that twists it left and right? That can be really useful for a couple of different angles that you want to do sometimes if you're doing presentations or make it look like your footage is on a TV screen on a wall and you need to position it up there. That can be really helpful for those things. And you can see every time I've changed it, it's added these keyframes over here because it was like, whoa, but earlier you told us earlier down here, you told us all these things should be set dead center, no change to them. So the minute I change any of those things later on, it's going to automatically add more keyframes over here. Let me move the playhead out of the way, because anything I change, once I set keyframes here, anytime I make a change later on in the timeline to those values, whether that's position, zoom, rotation, pitch, yaw, once I tell it at this point, it should be this. At any later point, if I change those values, it's going to automatically add a keyframe. So most of the time when you're doing motion, you're not going to have to worry about adding keyframes because it's going to do it automatically, with the exception of when you want it to maintain position. That was exactly what we did right here, right? We zoomed in to these keyframes, but we wanted to stay zoomed in all the way to here. So we have to add another set of manual keyframes right there to remind it, don't do anything. And then the next move we make, it'll automatically add them. Does that make sense? Sometimes that little bit of learning some of the basics of keyframing can be confusing. I think a lot of times it's there's just so much going on in keyframing because you can do so much with it that sometimes it can be a little bit confusing about what's doing what. Let me see right here. There's a couple questions. One of the questions we got from Omaric, do I need to delete the keyframe or can I move it? Either one. That just depends on your workflow, okay? So let's say you like I did, like I accidentally, I put in a keyframe just to show you what happens if you don't remind the software to stay zoomed in. I wanted to stay zoomed in. It was easier for me to just delete that keyframe, start again, right? Then put the locking keyframe to hold it in place and then do the zoom after. But you could move it just like we did as we were showing here. At any point, you can move any of these keyframes any way you want. So a perfect example, right? Down here, let me just do this up here. Working with the new studio, trying to figure out exactly where everything is. So let's say we're looking at this layout, right? We had from this playhead here, right? It was full frame until it got to here. Then it zoomed in to this keyframe, which told it zoom in that much. And then it's staying zoomed in for this long, right? To this next set of keyframes, then zooming out. Now let's think about the relationship of all these keyframes, okay? If we're talking about those keyframes, these keyframes right here, all of these, let me see if I can draw a little bit better. These keyframes here, right there, those are the ones that tell it from the beginning to this point, stay full framed. This second set of keyframes here are saying at this point, it should be zoomed in a certain amount of the amount I've told it. So from here to here, the distance is going to define how quickly that happens. So I can very easily decide to go, oh, I want this zoom right here to be faster, so I can draw a box around it and move it closer, or I can pull it apart. Even though I have other keyframes already set, I can still move the distance of these apart, and I can change all of this sort of, I've got all the information set of how much it should zoom, when it should go back out, but I can change all that. I can say, by moving this farther apart, that's going to slow down the zoom coming in, and then it's going to stay zoomed in for the amount of time it gets to the next keyframes. But let's say I wanted it to start zooming up faster. I could grab all of these second ones, that's the zoom out section, draw a box around them and highlight them, bring them all to the left, and now the zoom out happens quicker. See, so all I'm doing is, now that I've created the instructions, and every time I go to these keyframes, you can click on any one of them. And if you look, like, let's say I click on this set right here, right? I'm clicking on this little set. They're all highlighted. I can then go up to the upper right inspector, and it's telling me all the values. These still control those keyframes. So maybe I don't like the zoom, or I do like the zoom. You can change those values. So anytime I select keyframes that are already made, if you change the values more, like in this case, I zoomed out. This very last set zooms me back out. But if I select them down in the keyframe tray, and let's say I go farther, I push this, I want to be way zoomed out. I want it to be like the whole screen gets tinier in the preview window. As long as those are selected and I change the value in the upper right, now you'll see the zoom out, it just changes the way it zooms out. Still doing the same thing. It knows when it should zoom out, but I'm changing the transform values. So you can always change, you can delete, there's just almost any option you want to do in the world for deciding how they're going to work. Am I from the U.S.? I am from the U.S. That's a good question. I'm from New England. I'm a Boston boy at heart. Let me see. I'm just kind of reading through some of the questions. Thanks for your tips. They're great. Hey, man, I appreciate that very much. I'm glad that these tips have been helping out. So let me just read some of the questions, guys. I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to what you guys have for questions today. Chish says, now, what do you do if you want to stay zoomed in on a non-specific object as it moves through the footage? Would you still use keyframes or something else? It's an excellent question, Tish. Sorry. So like in this example, the woman moved, right? Let's go back to what we had on screen. People do use tracking and things like that. There's different ways to approach this, but on a simple scene like this, let's go right back to the keyframes, right? I started here. I'm on watch the playhead. It hits that first keyframe, then it zooms in, and it's pretty much zoomed in on this woman right here. So let's say we want to keep this woman right here, draw an arrow to her. We want to keep her pretty much center frame, right? Well, it'd be nice to zoom in and kind of follow her. Okay. Well, one way to do that is let's go to the second keyframe and go, whoop. Once we got to here, she was actually out of frame. She got lower. What we could do, this is what's really cool. If you look in the lower left of your timeline, now depending on whether you have your media pool on or not, it might be here for you. If you look right there, there's this drop-down menu, and you can, because I have the timeline selected, you will see there is this option to do things on screen. So as opposed to going up here and moving everything with these little sliders and faders, I see how this is the transform option, zoom, position, rotation. I can go here and I can turn transform on. You see how that now turns white? And if you look, let me do this. Let me zoom out a little bit. If that's on, it draws a frame around the entire footage. Right? We're zoomed way in right now. So if I just started moving the playhead, you'll go, okay, back here, okay, this was full frame. It was filling up the entire preview window. Then as it zoomed in, basically this is what we did with the footage. We just expanded it and zoomed it outward. And then we got to here, and then we just stayed that way. See, that line really shows you what's happening with the total footage. And when we got to this point, we zoom back in by shrinking that footage back down. But the woman kind of moved off screen. She was like, wow, she got kind of low. What you can do is if you have this transform option down in this lower left right here, have that, turn that on, and it makes it super easy to just go up here, click in the screen itself, in the preview window. I'm just going to left click and hold, and I'm going to move her more towards the middle. Let me go right about here. So now at this point, it's got her recentered again. Okay. Let me turn this off. So at this point, you can see, actually you can see the motion. As this is going forward, can you see the white frame moving? It's keeping her in center because all I did was I just adjusted the second keyframe and said, hey, I need, even though I wanted to stay zoomed in, I want to stay zoomed in, but on that woman. So shift the footage so she stays in the middle. So now in that case, when I play through, let me go like full screen. Can I do that? Yeah. It zooms in on her and it sort of tracks her, right? And all I did was change the second value until it zooms back out. So that's an easy way to sort of do that tracking shot. The one thing you have to be careful of, I have this set wrong. This needs to be full screen. Set a keyframe here, and I want that to be 1. So you have to be careful. I've been playing around, so I changed some of these values. Let me change them back to their original values, and that should give me full screen. So when it zooms out at the end, it just goes back to full screen. Can you see that okay? Yeah, so when it zooms back out, see it zooms into her, follows her, just because I moved her in center, and zooms back out. Nice and simple. So that was a simple way to handle that. Zoom in, follow her a bit, and it was just changing the second value, right? Because we knew on the beginning of this, she was kind of centered, and she wasn't centered when we got to here. So that little transform option, clicking down in the lower left, allows us to left click on screen, move things around, put it where we want, get her centered again. And it does all, and Resolve does all the math automatically, right? It goes, oh, so now you want me to zoom in and slowly move the X and Y values so that by the time we get back over, she still stays center. Really, really simple stuff like that. I prefer doing this kind of thing rather than some people will be like, oh, go into Fusion and track her and then make sure that you're tracking the window. I'm like, just keyframe it. For simple motions like this, I do this all the time, like silly things like where I'm like trying to follow a race car on a racetrack and I zoom in. I just make sure it stays centered in the frame at the keyframe points. And that'll pretty much do everything I need to keep that whatever it is. In this case, it's a woman, to keep her centered in frame. Now, one of the things you want to know about both the keyframe window and the keyframe tray, you can use either one. I like the keyframe tray because it's right underneath my footage. Let me just cut this footage in half. I want to show you something. I'm just putting my playhead here and hitting Control B. Command B, I'm on a Mac, and I split the footage. You'll now see I have this clip selected so I can see these keyframes. If I click the second half that doesn't have any keyframes, it's not necessarily going to show me keyframes over here. It'll show me the ones from that clip. A lot of times when you start moving, it's actually the same clip. Hold on a second. Let me reset all the keyframes on that one because it doesn't have any. I'm resetting the keyframes. These all have keyframes now. This piece doesn't have any keyframes. So when I click on this, the keyframes go away because there are no keyframes on this section of footage. But this section of footage does have keyframed animation to it. So when I click on that, you see them. When I click on a different piece of footage, it'll only show me the keyframes for that piece of footage, all right? So if you're ever like, I've got my playhead here, but I don't see the keyframes for this clip, make sure you're selecting the clip. The reason it does it this way is you might have, let me pull this down. Maybe you've got a different clip here, right? That's, let me pull this up and bring it on top. Just give me a little more view. Maybe you have a different piece of footage and maybe these two are like, who knows, maybe they're cross-fading into each other from one clip to another or something like that, right? If this top one has different keyframes, maybe it's supposed to be full framed, you know, to this point, or maybe it's zoomed in. Maybe I have this whole thing zoomed in a little bit right there. And I put a keyframe, and then I'm going to sort of pan it left and right. So I'm going to move this slightly to the left by using the position X. So now it has two keyframes. Well, it has keyframes for stay this size all the way in. See, it's zooming out from the previous one. And then this one sort of moves to the left. That's the reason it only shows the clip, because I might have two clips that are on top of each other. See how these are stacked because they're cross-dissolving? And you want to be able to click and see the keyframes just for that clip. That's true of things like text too. If you happen to do something that's that you bring in, let's say some text, let's go up to the media pool and effects. We'll go down to titles and we'll grab a text plus. This is a real common thing that you might do, is grab something that has, you want to add some text on screen. And let's say your text is going to say, whatever it's going to say. How about crowd of people? This is the kind of text you need to let people know what a crowd of people looks like. Let's step this up. Let's click on shading. I'm going to click on the black shadow, put a little black shadow behind it so it pops off the screen a little bit. Let's go to the text section. Let's change this to, I don't know, maybe impact. I like impact. It's a cool font. And let's change the size a little bit. Okay. So now it just says crowd of people, right? Pretty straightforward stuff. Cool thing about, again, so you can see what I've got right here. I haven't done any keyframing. Here's a perfect example. If you look where my playhead is in this lower left down here, I've got my text on top of my clip. This clip has keyframing. The text asset has no keyframing. But if I added keyframing to the text, let's say I wanted it to be, let's use the on-screen option. I'm going to click right here for the transform, turn that on. This works with text too, which is really cool. I'm going to click on that and let's say, I'm going to say, I want this to be down in the lower left. Just say crowd of people. But I want it to start off screen. So I'm going to click on that, go up to the upper right on the settings, and on the settings section up here on the inspector, you'll see it's a much like the controls for your clip. You've got all the same transform options. They're under settings of if you click on the text, there's title to physically write what you want, set the color, the size, the font. But then to the right over here, right up in the upper right, settings, if you click on that, it gives you those same transform options. So let's say I wanted it to end up somewhere around here, but I wanted it to start off screen. I would put my playhead at the beginning and say, all right, I'm going to left click on the position X and I want you off screen. I'm going to use the position X just to keep it nice and flat. It's not going to go up or down. So start off screen, and then I'm going to move forward. And when I get to here, I would like that text. I'm going to move it back. I would like that to be, whoops, hold on. I didn't set a keyframe. This is what you got to do. Go to the beginning, position X. I've just told it to go off screen by sliding that. Let's set a keyframe there. Now we've got a keyframe. Now I'm going to move the playhead forward and I'm going to say, okay, at this point, I want that to come on screen over here. I want it to slide from the left over to the right. I'm just using the position X just because it keeps it from going up or down. It's nice and straight. I want it to be right about there. It sets another keyframe. Do you see it automatic? Because I set the first one, it sets the second one. Now this is just like the zoom in we did. I want it to come out and say crowd of people. And I want it to say crowd of people for, I don't know, this long, maybe to here. But we have to tell it to stay there, which means add another keyframe. So I go right up here again and I go where that X is. Let's do the same thing. Let's add another keyframe. And then by the end, let's move this to the end. I want that to slide back off. So I just grab the position X, which is, I'm up in the upper right here. Not now you. And I am going to slide that, just pull it to the left. I'm just clicking in that number value and I'm sliding it to the left. And I'm going to pull it back over to the left. Simple keyframing. Not unlike what we did with this first piece of footage, right? We had the first piece of footage, stay full screen, zoom in, follow the woman, and then zoom back out. Well, now we've got text that we want it to go, hey, come in screen, stop there, stay there for this amount of time, then zoom back out, or move to the left. Simple keyframe motions. But now if you look down below here, see how I've got the text selected? You can see those keyframes. If I click on the piece of footage underneath it, it's got different keyframes. So the reason why they'll change is so that you can grab each piece and go, oh, and they're aligned, right? Like wherever the playhead is, that's where those keyframes are. So it's kind of a cool thing. And if I move that, watch what happens. Let me see. If I take the text and I want that to happen later, can you see how all the keyframes are coming with it? So I'm going like, oh, I didn't want that. I wanted to zoom in and say crowd of people and then zoom out, but I don't want it to happen at the very beginning. I would actually rather have it happen somewhere over here, right? You can go, oh, okay. I want it to be zoomed in and whatever happens, boom, crowd of people, that comes in. So it moves all the keyframes with it. Crowd of people goes away. And then that clip zooms back out. I've got a fade on it here too. So pretty simple stuff, right? There's no kind of crazy things going on here. It's simple sets of instructions. Does this basic stuff make sense? Give me a thumbs up. If this basic sort of motion and keyframing, left, right, up, down, in, out, and adding these little keyframes makes sense, because I want to show you some more things. Give me a thumbs up if this makes sense. If you have any questions, yell them out in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer everyone I can possibly see here. Here's one. Let me see. I've been following you since you were with that other software. Hey, we don't use the F word around here. Thank you for being compliant. Yeah. Is that Stanley Orchard? What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Stanley's awesome. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Yeah, I'll leave this live stream will be up for the replay. I leave virtually every live stream up for the replay afterwards, so you can come back and watch the replay later on and ask questions. Let me see. Let's see. You had missed, what was the question here? You had missed, yeah, that was it. I got it. There it is. I'm learning this new software too. I had missed how to get the keyframes to show on the bottom. Super helpful. Yeah, that's just a simple change that they've made. They have it up. Right now I'm way up here. That's the Keyframe Editor, the one on top. Let me turn this one off. Keyframe Editor gives you this window in the upper left, right? It's up here, that you can pop out, right? You can pop this window out by clicking undock, this sort of weird little arrows going everywhere. I do this a lot because I'll undock this, and you can change the size of this Keyframe Editor window too. Let me grab this one. You can change the size of that as well. The way I tend to do it is, let me just escape out of this one. Be full screen. Whoa, hold on 1 second. I've lost it. I'm learning this two screen mess. There it is. All right, got it again. Let me pop this open. You can pop this window out. Let me just share this right here. Let me do this. Well, let me share. Yeah, okay. Where is it? Right here. There it is. So this window is completely popped up because I'm using two monitors. It's actually pushing this, and I'm doing it on a Mac. It's pushing that down when I close it out. You can do this separate. A lot of times what I will do is I will pop out my Keyframe Editor window, and I'll put it into another monitor. And for doing different things that I'm going to show you, that can be super useful, because as much as I like having that Keyframe Editor right here in the upper left or popped out, and again, you can change by left clicking and holding on the divider lines. It's one of the things I tell everybody. There's all these little divider. Each one of these panels is like a UI display panel, right? So like, let me change to a squiggly tool right here. This right here, right? This is a panel that's doing all the Keyframe Editor. This one right here is our preview window, right? This big one over to here. This one in the upper right is our inspector. Down below, we have all of this big open area down here. That is all of our timeline. Well, one of the things is everywhere where those intersect, there's these little lines, and you'll notice when you put your cursor over some of these lines, it then gives you the ability, like if I'm putting my cursor right between the Keyframe Editor and the preview window, you see how my mouse turns to like a double arrow with a line in the middle? You can left click and hold, and you can change the proportions of these windows, which can be super helpful. Sometimes I do it a lot with the timeline. If I want the timeline to be, that's up all the way. If I want to see more preview window or less preview, you can bring this way up here, expand your timeline so you can see a lot of it. If I'm really working with keyframes, in the tray below the timeline, if you noticed, I just clicked right there. That's the Keyframe Tray. It's right there. Keyframe Editor in the upper top right there. Keyframe Tray just above your timeline. Where are you? Right there. Those three little diamonds right there. And when you click on that, and that's got that same divider, so you can lift it up and you can really see them. But you know, there's some compromises. One of the things I don't love about the Keyframe Tray is if you do have like your preview window, you know, opened like this, you really want to see what's going on. You're trying to really edit this. You open up your Keyframe Tray. Look what it does to your timeline. Well, now I'm having trouble seeing the different parts of my timeline. You can still change the proportion between the audio and video right here. There's a divider line there. But when you bring that tray in, and you open it way up, it can interfere with the viewing of your timeline. And there's all little games you can play. Over here, there is a timeline adjustments right there, that little check mark. If you click on that, That's going to give you the option to change track heights for all the tracks, video right there, audio, so you can shrink them. A lot of times if I'm doing a lot of stuff that I need to have this keyframe tray open, I'll just change the height of all the tracks and shrink them down so they're not quite as big. And a lot of times that'll solve problems for me so that I can still see everything I need here and go, okay, there's my text, there's my clip, but I'm not, I'm playing a little bit of a game of sacrifice with that keyframe tray. So that's where Keyframe Editor can be really handy, because you can pop that window out, move it around, overlay it, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun stuff. So there's always different layouts you can use. But let me talk to you about a couple different options while I'm here. We are looking at, let's start with this one, the text window, right? I've got the on-screen transform enabled. That's why you're seeing the white line, which is cool. It shows you where it is. You can see the whole frame of it moving on, comes in, stays in the lower left, and then the whole thing moves back out. And you can see the whole white line from the transform option? Because I have that turned on down here. If I turn it off, it goes away. But a lot of times I like to leave that on. So when I click the different elements, it tells me where things are positioned, where they're zoomed in. Kind of quickly, you can see what's going on here, which is kind of helpful to go, okay, oh, that one's zoomed off over there. This one's zoomed in a little bit because I can see the whole frame is a little bit bigger than what I'm seeing. Kind of useful stuff. But let's talk about these keyframes. You'll see these are the dots. You see how on screen, whether I'm looking at the keyframe tray below our timeline, or if I open up the keyframe editor up top, still dots, right? You're seeing all the keyframe dots above and below. They're kind of a mirror image of each other. But there's another thing that you can do. These motions, one of the things about just adding keyframes, and tell me if you can see it. Let me turn this off so the window doesn't distract you. When I keyframed this text to come in, right at this point, I said, you're going to stay off to the left. At this point, you are going to zoom in, stay at the lower left of the preview window, and then zoom back out. But watch the motion. It's like, wham, it kind of comes in, kind of stops abruptly. And when it's time to move again, it just shoots right back out. The thing about those motions is they're very linear, and it's almost like driving a car. I like to explain, just putting keyframes, when you tell it start on the left and then go, move to the right, the minute the keyframe sees instructions going, okay, you want me to move right, it steps on the gas and goes. It's like right up to full speed, goes there. And then when it gets to the point right here where I tell it to stop and just stay in the corner, it like slams on the brakes. There's no subtlety. Imagine being in a car with someone when the light turned green, they just slammed on the gas and went 100 miles an hour. Then when they got to the stop sign, they just slammed on the brakes and and then when like the light turned green again, they just hit the gas again and they were going like, wow, that's not how people drive. People like slowly accelerate. And when they see that they have a stop sign or a red light coming up, they slowly apply the brakes to slow things down, not just abruptly stop the car. You can do that with keyframes. And that's another thing that we call easing the keyframes, okay? So if you look, I'm going to start, because I'm using the keyframe tray, let's start down here. You'll see that right here, there are two options. See these two things? One is like the little diamonds. That's what we call the keyframes. If I hover there, let me see if you can see it. It'll say keyframe lanes. I don't know if you can read it, but those are called the keyframe lanes. And the one next to it is called keyframe curves. I don't have my zoom window, doesn't quite catch it, but it's right there, keyframe curves. If you click, it'll toggle over to the curves. And these are the splines, all right? If you haven't used this before, basically it's a great visual narrative of exactly what we just talked about. Let me just make the timeline a little bigger so you can see this a little bit better. Exactly what we were talking about. You're seeing two different lines for two different reasons, right? Position Y is something that had a keyframe on it. These are the two values that were keyframed. Position Y is up and down. There was no change in position Y. That's why this purple line right here just stays perfectly flat. But the position X, that's the yellow one. If I click, and I'm clicking over here on the left right here. Position Y, you'll see if I click here, you'll see the purple line kind of illuminates a bit. And if I click on X, now the yellow line gets a little brighter, focuses on that. Position X is the left and right. That's the one we made all the motion to, right? Now, if I didn't want to see position Y, the only reason we're seeing position Y right here is because if we go up here, can you see position X, position Y, it has one keyframe next to it. So whenever I set a keyframe for either position X or position Y, it adds keyframes for both because that's the up and down, left and right. It's just the way they do it. Instead of having a million things up there, they figured left, right, up and down, we'd put all together. The same way they do for zoom, X and Y also share a keyframe. So if I didn't want to see the position Y keyframe, I can actually go right here. See this like little like dot curve and another dot? That turns on the different keyframes in the keyframes curves window. So if I just click on that, watch the purple line, goes away. Click on it again, comes back. If I didn't want to see position X, I just click that, turn that curve off. Now I'm just seeing the purple Y line. Click it again, I see position Y again, position X and Y both on. Sometimes you'll have so much keyframing going on that this window over here will have lots of different values, and you can scroll through them, you can turn them on and off. One of the things that becomes problematic if you've got this squashed way down, you see how much I've pulled down the keyframe tray? Now I can't even see the motion. I'm like, everything looks flat. Why don't I see the nice wave of how it's moving? That's when you want to expand the keyframe tray. See how I'm pulling it up and see how that yellow line suddenly, oh, now I can see it. Now I can see all the motion. I want to make sure I pull it up so I can see it. I'm going to turn off the position Y because we didn't change it up or down. It's just moving left or right. Again, we're using just the text. Now, the thing I love about this new keyframe tray and new keyframe editor that we could not do in the previous versions is you can ease keyframes and you can ease more than one at a time. Okay, let's start just here. Let's just say, look at the yellow line. You see that first keyframe, we're zoomed out right to there. I'm sorry, I'm on the text. Watch the text. Let me turn this off right now. I'm going to do just text. This zooms in from the left. Then when we get to the next keyframe right here, stops. Stays right there all the way to the next keyframe because we put another keyframe to say stay right there until this point. Now move back to the left. But that jerky motion, that kind of a zoomed in, stopped, and it slammed on the brakes. We can change the values of these ones. Let's say I wanted it, this very first keyframe, let me put the playhead here, right here. This very first position X keyframe, I want it to come in from the left, but I want it to be like starting your car from a stop sign. I want to slowly put on the gas. I don't want to slam the gas. I want to get up to speed. What you can do is click, and you see when I click there, see what it does to the keyframe, see what kind of illuminates it. Once you've got that selected, right here, you've got different options for easing. Linear is exactly what we're looking at. These very harsh, no easing, it just hits that point, stops, does its thing. But then you can either ease in and out all at once, I'll explain that in a minute, or ease out. Now, basically the difference between easing in and out is whether it happens before the keyframe or after the keyframe. We're dealing with this keyframe and I want to ease out. So I'm going to go up to the ease out and click on that, and look what just happened here. You see how it added a little white handle? And that harsh line that went up like 100 miles an hour is now got a curve. That's why they call it the curves option of the window. Remember I looked over here and I showed you it was either lanes or curves. We're adding curves. And what this does is it's telling it, hey, when you get to this spot, don't just take off. Go a little bit slower and then start picking up speed. And if I grab this little handle, I can change how quickly it's taking off. I'm just left clicking and holding and moving it to the right. I want it to be a little bit slower. So all I do is I pull that out. Now look at the curve, right? So now when that comes in, you'll see it's sort of, watch the motion of that when the words crowded people. See, it's like slow and then slammed into place. Well, I don't want that either, right? I don't want it to slam into place. I would like it to come in kind of slowly and then slow down as it gets near position. So I'm going to select that keyframe and I'm going to set it back to linear. So we're right back where we started. I'm going to draw a box around. I actually want the second one right here, the second keyframe. I want this one to ease in. I want the easing to happen before. In is before a keyframe. Out is after a keyframe. A minute ago, we eased out after this keyframe, but when we get to this one, because we're going into it, I want to ease in. So on that one, I could select that, and I could choose right here, ease in, this feature right there. And you can see it does the opposite. Now it's slowing down before it gets to it. And if I had two different keyframes, I could go through each one. I could select this one and go, that one I need to ease out. This one needs to be eased in. And if you look at the entire curve now, it's got a nice S to it. And if you watch the motion of the text, you'll see it's got a much smoother delivery coming in from the left. It's got kind of a nice flow to it. And I can adjust, again, I can switch back over to the keyframe lanes and I can go, I want that to be a little slower. Remember what we talked about when you want the speed of something to be slower, move the keyframes farther apart. I'm going to move that farther apart, and it doesn't change any of the easing. It just moves that apart. You could do it here, but what happens is if I move this at all, it changes the Y value. I don't want to change that. I don't want to move that on. It changes the curve of how it sits and the position of the X is what I should say. So I don't want to change that yet. So I usually switch back over to the lanes because that allows me to grab this keyframe and move it left and right without potentially moving positions of the exact value of that X. Right there. So I'm going to use this lanes, but watch this whole motion now. Watch up in the preview window. Watch how smoothly the word crowd of people come in. Kind of has that nice motion to it, right? And I can do that. I can extend these handles and I can go, I want it even more of a, pull this over a little bit. I want that to have more of a curve, I'm going to pull this one to the left. I want it to slow down a little bit faster. And this is easing. It's just controlling the, that's what makes these motions look very professional. And you can do the same thing. Now, remember, it stays here, and then when it goes out, it does that horrible jerky motion. Then now we've got the motion in. Oh, that's nice and smooth. It feels professional. Then it goes out, and it's like, just ratchets it over. The cool thing about these Keyframe Editor and the Keyframe Tray, I can draw a box around the second two. Now, both of those are selected. And I can go right here to ease in and out. And if I click on that, it adds easing in and out to both of these two. So now these are all eased at once. So it makes it nice and easy to create easy. It's an easing joke. It makes it nice and easy. Like if I decided to, I can set these all back to where they originally were by hitting linear. I've taken all the easing off. But if I saw this motion, I took the time to build this text coming in where I wanted, it stays there for a little while, and then it moves back off screen, and I go, oh, I want to ease all of that. I can just grab a box, draw a box around all the keyframes, come over to here, click on ease in and out, and it's going to ease everything for me now. Now, all four of these all have easing on them. Nice and simple. So it's a really good way to go, oh, now my motion is nice and smooth. And when it zooms back out, it's going to be a nice whoosh. So one of the things I love about the new Keyframe Editor and the Keyframe Tray is that easing is super easy to do. You can do multiple keyframes at once. You can change them. You can play around with them, set the curves. But it's a nice way to get those nice smooth animations. And you can do these not just on your, not just on text. You can use it for like this zoom too. Let's grab the zoom. So the zoom did the same thing. It zoomed in, it moved a little bit. I've got all these motions. The two that I'm looking at are the position. The reason we're seeing a few different options here is it zoomed in, but also this yellow part here. Let me see if I can show you. Zoom X and Y was the blue one, where it just zoomed. If I turn, I'm going to turn off the position X and position. That's another thing I should show you. You're seeing multiple things happening here. The blue line is the zooming in and zooming out that we did with the crowd. Remember, we zoomed in towards that one girl and zoomed back out. The yellow line is the X because Tish asked me, can we make it follow the person? So we actually had to change those values a little bit to make it follow her. So the X and Y, where the thing was positioned up and down, left and right, we moved that a little. So that's why we now have keyframes there. Now, I'm looking at these two lines down here, but like the yellow one I can see, but the blue one looks flat. And if you look over to the left, go over to the description of each, the yellow one, position X, we know that's left and right. And we know the blue one is the zoom, the in and out. But I want to be able to see the zoom better. It looks flat. If I go over and I turn off that little curve, remember? If I turn off position X, watch what happens to the blue line. Now I can see it better. And the only reason is it gets to the point where they move differently, and some of them are moving more than others. So if you ever want to see the whole curve of the spline and it looks like a flat line to you, try turning off some of the other values and just isolating the one you want to work with. In this case, I don't want to pay attention to the position X, position Y right now. I just want to pay attention to the zoom. So what I could do is, you saw this motion happen, right? Let me put it back here. It zoomed into that girl, clunk, stops right there, like the brakes got jammed on, and then bloom, moves back out again. I want that smoother, so I can do the same thing. I'm going to draw a box around all of these keyframes, right? So they're all highlighted now. And I'm going to go back up to this ease in and ease out one. This sort of a, you can see it looks like a little mountain. Got handles on both sides, left and right, because it's in and out. I'm going to click that, right? And now it's put those easing for everything. So now this motion where it zooms in, watch what happens. Oh, nice and fluid. It didn't slam on the brakes. It follows her. Oof, and then it moves back out. There was a little jerkiness in it, I noticed, and that's because I did not ease the X value. And I'm having the zoom easing, but the position motion to follow the girl, I didn't ease that. So I actually want to make sure I have the zoom X and zoom Y enabled. That's over here, because we moved it up and down, left and right a little bit. And I'm going to grab all of those, and I'm going to make sure draw a big box around all of them. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ease in and out all of those as well. And now you'll see, if I go back to the beginning, this will make all of that motion really smooth. That zoom and that motion is like, whew, look how professional that looks. Nice and smooth. Now it's going to smoothly go out. Woof. Kind of, right? It allows you to kind of control, and you can always go back and you can change the amount of easing you have, the amount of zoom, all of those things. You may not want to zoom the X and Y. You might go, nope, I don't want that. I want the X value just to stay linear. You can change that back. You can do a million different things. But all these different options control the way that zoom is happening. And when you have a nice smooth, let's go full screen. When you have a nice smooth animation, like a zoom like this, see how professional that feels? Because it's a smooth in and out and a smooth pull back out. It's not that herky-jerky motion of just setting keyframes. So that easing is super important, all right? So when you are going to ease, after you set your keyframes, let's go back to lanes. There's all my keyframes, right? Not now you. There's all my keyframes. There's when I click on the curves, this option right there, that's going to give me the curve option. The difference of this in the tray and the editor is if you actually open up the Keyframe Editor and you go full screen, which is kind of a pain when I have two screens going. If it's up in the corner like this, you have those same options. You can click back and forth, right? You can do curves, or you can do just the keyframe lanes. If you pop it out, it gives you both. See, now I've got the keyframes down below and the curves up top, which is really cool. Again, why would I use the Keyframe Editor as opposed to the Keyframes Tray? I run two screens. Sometimes I run three. This allows me to go, I don't have to switch back and forth. I can change like the speed, like how long I want that last zoom out. I can just grab these and pull it. And it not only moves the keyframes, but all of that easing that's happening is going to move with it. I can see it if I want to change anything. Now I'm able to see the keyframe curves and the keyframe lanes, and I can see them all right on my screen. And that can be super, super useful if that's something that's important to your workflow. So one of the things I try to tell everybody is like, Resolve option gives us, sometimes gives us different options, specifically because workflow, like how's your workflow? What do you need it to do? Are you using two monitors? Are you using one? So it'll give us these sort of different ways to do the same thing. And sometimes people will be like, why? Like, why is it bothering to do that? It doesn't make sense to me. Why doesn't it just give us one option? And the reason is that it depends on workflow. If you're someone who runs many monitors and you need to be able to have the Keyframe Editor separate, you might have your preview window. If you have the studio version, you can put your preview window up in a completely separate monitor. And you can do all these different things at once. And maybe you're not. Maybe you're someone who's just working on a single laptop with a single screen, and your workflow might be different on how you're working. And it always wants to make sure that the editor themselves has the ability for the software to accommodate different types of workflows. And that's really what that is. Let me see. Right here, I've got a question that says, hey, Daniel, can you tell me why the audio keyframe icon does not appear at the bottom of my audio? So yeah, they've changed that. One of the things we should talk about, let's bring this back up. Let's go back over here. I'm going to turn this off for now. You can keyframe your audio, right? So I've got, let's say, I'm just going to expand this one track so we can see this one a little bit better. We've got this going on. I've got some crowd noise. So if I've got this enabled, just some people talking. Let's say I wanted this to be very quiet at the beginning. You know, there's different ways to do this. I think some of you know that in the upper left of both video and audio, or upper right, you see that little white dot? You can fade in. I just have to left click and hold, and I bring that over, and that creates a fade in. Right? The farther I pull it, the slower the fade. It doesn't get to full volume to wherever I put this. This is another type of audio keyframing. You can also, if you notice right here, there's another dot in the middle. You can actually curve the keyframe if you're using corner. These are called corner keys. Maybe I don't want it to just go start turning up and like, see how that's another one of those harsh angles. It immediately starts going up and then stops the minute it gets there. What if I want it to slowly kind of increase volume? You can click on that keyframe right there and you can put a curve in it. You can pull it down and now that volume swell up kind of curves in. Or you can do the opposite. You can go the opposite way too. You can go like this kind of curve where it gets up to volume a little bit quicker, you know, but it's sort of a slow curve in. There's different ways to handle it. That's the kind of keyframe. There you go. So a nice kind of rolled in using the corner keys. Okay. But maybe you don't want to use the corner keys. Maybe you want to use keyframing. So at the beginning of this, I want this audio. I'm going to select it. And if you look in the upper right, you see the minute I clicked on this, it opened up the audio tab in the inspector. Right here, I want this volume to be, the full volume of this I should make a note of for later, is 13.5. Cool. I want to pull it down to nothing. And you look at my whole wave disappeared. And I'm going to add a keyframe right there. At the very beginning of this clip, I want this volume turned all the way down. Nothing's happening. But maybe right at about this point, I want it back at full volume. So I go back up to the upper right, up here, right? And that's where I'm going to say, okay, it was what would we say? 13.5 was where I had it set, arbitrary. But now you'll see down here, it's done the same thing, but it's done it with keyframes, okay? The audio is still a little bit different. This is one of those things you go, well, now that they've added the Keyframe Editor and the Keyframe Tray, all of my audio keyframes will be down in that tray or up in the editor, right? No. No. They've kept the keyframes for audio in the timeline itself. Why? I don't know. They just have. There are some of the audio effects that I've noticed do show up down there, which is a little kind of funky sometimes. But if I open up the Keyframe Tray, so you can see here, it's like, it says there's keyframes right here. I can see it, but I can't seem to see. I'm not seeing anything. You got it selected. I don't see it. It says it here. It shows you that you have volume keyframes. This might change in the future, but that's all it's doing is letting you toggle between the keyframes. Like you can hit the, right down here, you can hit these arrows and watch the playhead. It'll jump back to the first one. It'll go forward to the next one, but it doesn't actually show you. It still acts like it did in the previous version. And the keyframes are actually in the audio track. And if you want to lift them, move them, just left click right within that track, and you actually move them inside of the audio file itself in the track. Why they did that? I don't know. You would have thought, why don't we consolidate? And they might in the future, right? Don't be surprised if down the line they change that so that the audio ends up maybe in the Keyframe Tray or in the Keyframe Editor. But for now, the audio keyframes, even though you can technically see that some have been activated here, you can see them here, they don't actually show up in the tray or in the Keyframe Editor up here. You can see I've got this selected and it's like, I don't even see it up here. So when I turn this on, you can see it down here. Just how it is, right? Why they do that? I don't know. I guess that's how they wanted to do it. Goofy. So for now, that's what you're going to do is that kind of stuff here is, you know, be able to move these here and there. And we don't have as much control over things like the easing. They do have, let me see. You can see I've got this 2 keyframes, right? This just swells the audio up. Oh, I've got it muted. Hold on a sec. So you can hear it come in. Same thing. And there you go. There's your volume. They do have in the upper right, if you go up to this section up here, right, you can see the keyframes. I believe you can still right click. Yeah. Do you see? Once I get to the keyframe, you can add easing up here by right clicking on it and say, oh, I want that to ease in. And it doesn't really show you an ease. You just notice, did you see the way the curve happens? And you could go to the very beginning one, and I think it'll still let you. I'm just using the arrows to scroll through. I'm now on the first keyframe. I believe in the upper right, you can right click on it and you'll see it says ease out. So you can control the easing out and in of the audio keyframes, but you can control them. You control those literally right up here. They don't control, I don't think they control. Oh, they do. I take that back. So you can do it here as well. Ease in. If I left click, if I right click on the other one, let me see if I can find it. Let me stretch this out a bit. If I move the playhead, if I can right click on that, that doesn't look like I can do it here. Let me try it again from here. Yeah, if I move it out so I can see it, it says ease out. So linear is no easing. It only gives me an ease out option because that's all that can happen. It started at nothing. So you can add easing that way, and it does affect this clip. You can see if I right click here. So I guess anywhere there's a keyframe, I should check here too. Let's go to here. Let me pull this down. So we are now on the second full volume keyframe. Let me right click down in the lower left here. Let me right click. I don't think it gives me the menu here. Now, so you can't ease from here. You can ease from the middle of the window, and you can ease up here by clicking on it, ease in, ease out. So that's where your easing is going to take place for those. Why they didn't put them there? That's a great question. I don't know. They just didn't. So they're still in your timeline, and maybe it's just because most of the audio keyframing stuff, like pan, I don't know what happens if you try, let's try this. Let's try panning this, and we'll have it go, I'm going to open up the pan option in the upper right. Pan is just left and right, stereo spectrum, make your audio go to the left ear and make it go to the right ear. Let's set a keyframe right up here for pan when it's dead center. Right? Can you see all that options? I'm going to move forward and I'm going to send it all the way into the right ear. Okay. Now, those keyframes do not show up in the audio wave. Do you see that there's no new keyframe? It's like, wait a minute, where's my keyframe? Now let's open up down here and let's see if it gives it to us here. Does it? Let me turn it on. Oh, wait, it does show up volume. I lied to you. I lied to you. They are down there. Looks like, you know what I didn't have enabled? This is where I'm learning too, because I never used the Keyframe Tray for this. I didn't have them enabled. So everything I just told you, I lied. I lied to your face. The reason you couldn't see it, if you didn't see it, they look like they must be off by default. And I didn't realize that. You can turn them on here. You got to hit the little curve arrow. I never used this one. I'm learning too. And when I turn on pan, now you can see them in the Keyframe Tray. All right, that makes sense. All right, cool. All right, let me go back. Hold on a second. What am I doing? I'm in the cut page. So that was my problem. Did anyone else catch it before me? Did anyone else catch that mistake? I got to look at pulling the faders in. Yeah, that was it. That was all it was. I apologize, DaVinci Resolve. It is down here. Is it up here too, though? I didn't see it up here. No, that's weird because if I have that selected, I'm learning a bit. Here it is here. I have keyframes on the window. If I click on this, but if I go to the audio tab, okay, we're all learning together. When I open up the Keyframe Editor, which is up the top, it doesn't seem to be showing me up there. I don't see keyframes for audio here. That might be the actual original poster's question from the chat. He's not seeing up there. They do seem to be available in the Keyframe Tray down here, which is hitting that triple diamond. But they seem to be deactivated by default. So it'll show you the keyframes, but it doesn't seem to show you the spline or where they're active until you turn them on. They seem to be turned off by default for whatever reason. So that's the thing, is I guess we just have to be aware that if we open up, they seem to be not available in the Keyframe Editor up top, audio keyframes. They are available in the Keyframe Tray down below, but you have to make sure you turn them on because they seem to be off by default. Let me know if you have a different experience on PC. I'm on Mac. Sometimes the different OSs act a little different. So there we go. Now we have that very thing. You can see, let me expand this. You can see I've got a couple of different keyframes happening here. We started with making the volume start from nothing, which was way over here. This is the beginning value. Let me pull it out. That was the completely turned off. And then when it gets to here, these two top arrow ones, that's the volume. Then it's turned all the way up to the whatever full volume we wanted. But it also, at this point, there's ones for pan, and they are right here, which started panning dead center to this point, and then moves to the right or left. I can't remember which way we moved it to this point. And it looks like we still can. Okay, we can, as long as we make sure we turn everything on. They're there. And let's just see. Then we should be able to, I want to see just the pan. I'm going to turn off the green volume. Now I'm going to see if we can ease in and out everything all at once. Boom. All right, cool. We can. So that's what it is. There was our answer. It's pretty funny. A lot of times you guys ask me stuff, and this is what I do, hours and hours sitting by myself. I'll play around and see like what happens, and then I'll find it, and then I'll make a tutorial and go, hey, from what I can see so far, this is what I've learned. And I kind of learn based on questions you ask me, because a lot of the stuff, you know, I tell everybody I'm a very proud noob. I'm still learning every single day. And sometimes if I haven't had to do something, it hasn't been in my workflow, like most of the time, I'm turning my volume up, turning my volume down, or I'm using compressors and stuff. I don't tend to do a lot of like easing left and right motion. I don't have my audio moving left and right unless I'm trying to show someone how to do it. So I learned by going, someone asked me a question, let me jump in, let me play around, let me see what's going on. And then I go, oh, I see, I click every button to see if it changes. And then I go, oh, look what I found. And then I'll make a tutorial and go, this is what I found, guys. And then a lot of times you guys will find something extra and talk to me about it and go, you know what else I found, Daniel? And you guys give me really, really great tips. And that's why a lot of times you'll see I make shorts where I'll shout out somebody who like asked a great question. I'll make sure I give them credit. Or if they point out something that I hadn't seen, always give them credit too. So it's really cool. So there we go. There's some of our keyframe. Let's just listen to what happened. I think this should volume up, and then the audio, if you're listening in stereo, should go to one side. In my headphones, it's over in the right, and it'll stay there until I tell it to do different. So we did get that easing. That's kind of cool. Volume, let me turn that back on. Let me turn the pan off. Let me see. Yeah, I guess that's pretty cool. I would probably not ease the first keyframe because it's taking it too long to come in. So I put that back to there, and that gives me a little better feeling. Yeah, cool. All right. So there are some little different things that we're noticing here. Again, you know, when you do the keyframed motion here, you don't get that center dot like you would if you use the corner key. Not the corner, let me see, corner key, because that corner key gives you that center dot here that allows you to control the volume curve of a fade in or fade out. Those corner keys are available on audio and video. So for instance, let's just expand this video track of the crowd coming in. If I hover over that and I go to the upper left, see how there's a corner key here too, that little white dot. And if I pull that to the right, this isn't a volume, it's a fade. So if you pull that all the way in, what would happen now is my footage would start, let me turn the keyframes off, would start at black and it would fade in. So that corner key is a good way to just bring, you know, to get a quick fade happening from black to nothing. You can in the settings, I believe. Let me check if I can find it. I believe it's in. Is it in the preference? It might be in the settings, or it might be preferences. There's a way you can add a little bit of curve. I can't remember where would we put them. Ins and outs. There is the ability to add a little bit of curve. Maybe it's in the project settings. Let me try this. When you get to editing, I can't remember where it is. I don't want to waste your time too much. But there is a preset that you can change the curves of the fade in. It puts a little bit of like a spline curve to it. In this case, when you use corner keys, it just goes like a straight line, but you can actually, in the settings, I'll have to find it. I'll make a video on it. I've done it before once or twice where you can preset it. It gives a little bit of an easing, but that's your basic keyframing. All right. You're going to have corner keys that are right on screen. You're going to have a keyframe editor, which is that window up in the upper left. And you're going to have a keyframe tray down below, which to me still is one of my favorite ways to go, just because it's like right in the timeline. And for very simple keyframing, that seems to be my favorite way to sort of accomplish the task. And it gets things happening nice and easy. You can turn things on and off, you know, click on whatever you want, ease them, move them around. Again, whenever you have something you can't see, remember turning off some of the other ones allows you to see some of these things a little bit better. If there's other things you need to see, like just one particular one particular keyframe option. You can turn these all off. I'm just clicking on those curves down on the lower left. And that toggles things on and off. Does it toggle from here as well? Yeah, it toggles regardless of either position you're in. So there's the keyframe curves option, right? All of this. Here is the keyframe lanes option. But either way, they have that sort of curved line with the two dots, which turn on or off what we're seeing. So I think I technically, can I turn them off here? Let me see. Nope, it still shows. It'll always seems to always show the keyframes. But when you do get to the curves, that's how you toggle them on so you can see each one, all of them, none of them. And that's real simple, basic keyframing. Let me take a look about what we got for questions. Some of these are a little off track, but I like off track questions. How do I get free VFX and SFX? Lots of ways. There's a couple of different, I mean, my favorite way to get stuff is to buy. The ones you pay for are always going to be the best. But there are places out there. Production Crate offers, I use them a lot. I have their license, but they offer some free ones. That's like, let me see if I can find it and I can show it to you really quickly. They used to offer free ones anyway. Let me give you a quick look here. Production. We always like learning some of this stuff. So if I can spell it, Crate, let me find it. Production Crate. Got it right. Productioncrate.com. Let me just see if I can share this on screen. Move to another window. Let me bring this down. Let me see if I can get it in your face. All right, let me get down to here. Let me see if I can get back up here again. I'm trying to move a few things around. Give me 1 second. I got to get this in frame so I can share it. Where was this one? Here. Let me see. No, I guess I can't see that one. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get this up for you. That one there. Let me close out that tab. Where did I lose? Did I lose you guys? Where did I find my other one? I got to find where I am. There's one called, I'm sorry, I can't pull it up right now. There's one called Production Crate that that has paid assets, but they also have some free assets. I think pixabay.com still offers some simple ones. But in general, I think what you're going to find is you get what you pay for. And some of the stuff is free. I use Production Crate. I like them. Storyblocks is one I use a lot, but all of their stuff is paid. You have to get a subscription, but their subscriptions cover everything. Production Crate has some limitations onto what you can download, how many times you can download. Even if you're just doing the free stuff, they limit it. But there's some stuff, so I would check that out. Let me check some other questions here and see what we got going on. Shocking how in-depth this app is. Yeah, man, the software, the app, it's one of the things we talk about a lot. It's just the software version, which is the desktop version, has tons of functionality. They do make an app version for iPad, tablet, right? Yeah, tablet. I think it's only iPad, and I have that installed too on my iPad. It's good, but it's very similar. It looks very similar, but it is an app. It's not the actual full software, so it has limitations, and some of the things aren't available. But it's very close. I'm surprised. I would say about, well, maybe 80% of the stuff that the full software can do, the iPad tablet app can do too. And they have some really cool things that integrate with it too. I've got, even down here, let me see if I can unplug this one. This is one of Blackmagic Design's color grading tools. It actually does all the color grading using wheels, and it's a surface designed specifically for the color page. I leave it plugged in here for when I'm working on this, but it also has a slot right here, and you can tuck your iPad right in top, and it'll connect Bluetooth to your iPad, and you can sit there and you can do all your, I usually do, my keyboard for most of the stuff, and then the color grading. It gives me all those color grading wheels where I can do 6, 7 things at once. Super, super useful. I find it really helpful. They have a different bunch of, one thing that people don't realize is Blackmagic Design is a hardware company first. They make surfaces, they make cameras, they make consoles, switchers, and the software itself is just kind of the glue that holds all the hardware together. And they make most of their money from the hardware. That's why when people ask, like, how can they give away this thing for free? Why doesn't Premiere Pro give it away for free? Well, Premiere Pro is kind of like, that's their bread and butter. They make After Effects, Premiere Pro. Adobe makes some other stuff, but they're not a hardware company first. Blackmagic Design is. It just so happens they've built an amazing software that is like having Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, pick your favorite color grading tool, all wrapped in one, and they give away 85% of it for free, and they still have a lifetime license. So if you buy the studio version, you buy it once, and it applies to all the future versions and updates. Very, very clear. Let me look at some of the other questions you have up here. Daniel, I was looking to reduce spikes in the audio with keyframes without reducing the whole audio. Okay, let's talk about that. You can do that with keyframing, but what I would suggest instead is, let me see if I can find this. Can I pull this back up? Stop. Let me see if I can share. Oh, wait a second. Let me do one thing here. Let me see if I can do, one second. I want to try one thing because I acted like I couldn't do something, and maybe I can. A window. No, I don't think. Chrome tab. Oh, okay. Here, I can do this. Let me share this. This is Production Crate. If you go to Production Crate and you kind of scroll through here, they have all kinds of crazy VFX. So like if I wanted to add fire, let's say I needed a fire effect, they have all these different fire effects that you can add in. And I'm trying to remember how they have a system here. I haven't remembered. Some of them, if you look, they have like a star. I think if they have a star, it's a paid asset. And if they don't have a star, it's a free asset. And I can't remember exactly how that goes. But this has all this kind of stuff. I use Production Crate a lot for things like, oh, I need lightning strikes. It's like, all right, cool. What kind of lightning strikes do you need? They have, you name it. And they've got like all these crazy effects that you can, let me see if it shows it here. Does it? No, I don't know if it does. No, let's see if it's showing. There it is. Like this, like lightning strikes happening and things like that. It's whatever you might need. Now they're all starting to move. See all these crazy lightning strikes. You're like, I need a lightning shot to download it. And it layers right in over your, right into your project, right? You can just go like, oh, I need to put a lightning strike here. So I use Production Crate for a lot of that stuff. Storyblocks has some too. Though Production Crate has some free ones. That's what I was trying to push towards. Sorry, it took me a minute to share that screen. I'm having a moment. I was looking for to reduce audio spikes was the question. Let me do this. The way I would reduce audio spikes is not by reducing the spikes themselves. That sounds silly, right? What do you mean, Daniel? Let me see if I can find this here. Okay, here is, let me just turn this. Let me find this. Boom. Let me do that. Let me hide that. Okay. Here's a perfect example. Can you see right there? Let me just mute this. Can you see how there's like an audio spike right here? See right there, it just sort of has like a jump up right there. Instead of trying to reduce those spikes, like keyframe them down, what you're better off doing in those situations, because you could, right? You could physically go, oh, this is too loud right there. You could go to the frame before it, right? You could add in the upper right, I just put a keyframe. Sorry, going to the wrong one. Go to the audio keyframe and put a keyframe there. Can you see it's now got an audio keyframe in the frame before it? I could go to the frame after it and hit another volume up the upper right. And I have now created a keyframe sandwich. My favorite kind of sandwich. What you can then do here is just put your, actually I have to move. I have to get right on frame here because it only does it on frame. I have to put here. You can put one in the middle and you can actually pull the middle one down. The problem is it doesn't always work exactly the way you want. It doesn't always like layer exactly because it puts them where the frames are. Like, and sometimes because of the way that it sets keyframes, it's always right at a frame. And it's like, but the spike was right here. So sometimes you can't get it exactly where you want, but you can see I just nudged it down. Every now and then I'll have one thing that happened to get a little bit loud and I'll do that. I'll put a keyframe on either side of it, put one in the middle and just toggle it down and it just dips that little section to take that spike out. But what's more effective, hold on, let me bring this up to whatever I had at 13 something, is go over to the audio Fairlight page. Let me get rid of media pool. I don't need any of this. I don't need any of that. Let me open this up a bit. Let me open that up a bit. What you'd rather do is on the Fairlight page, can you see this track over here? I'm on the right. Here's your mixer. I've got my mixer on. And in your mixer for that channel, it has this section called Dynamics. What you'd want to do is double left click on that. It pops up this window and it has a few different options here. If you look on the lower left, it's got an expander noise gate. That's for quieting down. It's not noise reduction. It's for when you're not talking, it'll close the audio. If you happen to be recording your vocal and let's say there's a fan running or the AC is on, and every time you stop talking, you can hear the fan, you can put an expander or better a noise gate, which will literally shut down your audio when the signal goes below a certain volume. So it's like, it's open while you're talking because that's louder, but when you stop talking, there's this little fan noise. It sort of mutes the track for you. But to the right of that, you've got a compressor and a limiter. Compressors and limiters are very similar, but they do a slightly different thing. A compressor is a softer approach. It's going to take your audio and kind of squash it down so that the loudest parts are pushed down, and that allows the quieter parts to feel louder. So if I turned the compressor on, I'm just hitting that little toggle right there. You'll see there's this vertical blue line. Can you see that? So in this vertical blue line, this green line is your audio, and it's based on decibels, right? It's like, okay, here's the audio, and this blue line is the compressor moving in from the left. And if I change the threshold, that blue line moves left and right, and you'll notice everything to the right of it is starting to get squashed in volume. To see how the green line, that's your actual track volume. Everything after the compressor kicks in is squashing it down. And you can control how much. That's called ratio. If I crank that ratio up, look at, whoa, it's like turning it way, way down. So you usually want it just kind of set a little bit, maybe like a 3-to-1 for like a vocal track. Threshold is usually up here somewhere, just the loudest parts. And there's one other one called the knee. That's right here. The knee controls, you can see how harsh that angle is. It goes up. And remember when we were setting keyframes, I didn't like the fact that they were really, right, the minute they kick on, they're like 100 miles an hour. Same thing, almost like easing. The knee controls how soft that grade is. And if I turn it up, let me see if you can see it happen. Can you see right here? That's now a softer angle. It's not a harsh single angle right at the blue line. If you turn on a compressor, what it's going to do is dial it in, and it's going to help hold that audio track together. So if you have things that get really quiet, then get really loud, add some compression to it. It's going to smooth it and stop it from getting super loud or super quiet. And if you have things that are just like, man, there are a few times it gets super, super loud, that's when you want to use the limiter. The limiter is a very similar thing, but look what it did. Do you see how it like flattens it? The limiter is this horizontal blue line. Works just like a compressor, but what it's going to do is if you watch and I do the threshold, you see how it's like, nah, man, we're cutting pretty hard. And what I'll do is a lot of times I'll put a limiter. You got to be careful. If you put a limiter on or a compressor on too heavy, it makes things sound unnatural because they're super compressed. So what you want to do is maybe put a little bit of compression on it to soften the top, and then add a limiter, but keep it kind of high to just grab stuff that really spikes up. And what's going to do, the minute those loud decibel volumes hit that, it immediately squashes them back down and stops them from spiking out and being too loud. And it does it dynamically. So as your track is playing, it's going to it's almost like real-time keyframing of what's happening with your audio. So the two most important things I tell everybody if you're learning how to make your audio sound better, equalization and compression. You learn those two things, how to EQ it to make it sound right, and then put some compression and limiting on it to hold it together. That's what's going to help you get better sounding audio and not have sort of uncontrolled, crazy spikes and things going on like that. Is Production Crate free? No, Production Crate is a paid thing, but it has some free assets. And if you go through, like I said, it was like some had stars and some don't, and they do give away some of them. So if you go through, I think, and they limit, it's like, I think it's like you can download whatever, 3 to 5 a day for free, and you can go get some of them. And I think it's not incredibly expensive. I think I pay, oh man, don't quote me. I want to say it's like maybe a couple $100 a year or something for access to everything. I have a link somewhere for it. I'll leave it. I'll put it down under the stream afterwards. I'll put it in the description and I'll put it in the pinned comments. You can go check out some of that stuff. It's really cool. There's some really good stuff out there. I'll put some assets to find. Let me see. Right here. Whoop. Sorry, I'm learning how to do this. I always keep hearing how often Premiere Pro crashes, and apparently DaVinci is so stacked, even the free version. I think that was the best decision I ever made all my life. Yeah, listen, Adobe has had crashing issues, even on strong systems. But I got to be perfectly fair. DaVinci Resolve is such a beast. It's a resource hog. So depending on what you do with it will change your experience. For example, if you're using Fusion a lot, if you're using a lot of noise reduction, visual noise reduction, like to get some of the grain out of your footage, that eats up system resources so quickly. I've talked about this. If you tend to edit with footage that has a lot of high compression codecs like H.264, H.265, stuff that's really good for making your file size small while keeping the quality up, those are delivery formats. But when you bring them into edit with, then your software has to read through all of that compression, which is why I tell a lot of people, make proxies. Try not to edit with especially like H.265 and AV. Man, I can shut down. I just built this station about a month ago. It's a Mac Studio station. It's a pretty powerful station. And I can bog it down with H.265 footage. My PC stations over on my other studio set, they're like $10,000 custom PCs I built with, the highest, not the highest, but 4090, 5090 graphics cards, the highest i9s available, 128 gigabytes of RAM, 8 terabytes of SSD. I mean, they fly. I mean, they're just designed to edit with DaVinci Resolve. I can still bog those down if I start using high compression video codecs, and I'm asking like Fusion to do a lot. So it's just, don't ever think that, every pro editing software, it'll do whatever you want, but it eats up system resources. And a lot of times when they're developing these Adobes and DaVincis and these high-end professional video editing software, they're testing them out on like the highest grade computers, and they're getting them to run. But when you start running it on more potato systems or older systems, yeah, you start feeling the pinch. So there's tricks. I've got a bunch of videos out there showing how to get around lag, make proxies, reduce the playback resolution, real-time cache rendering, things like that can help the performance. But they all can give you issues, right? Hey, I got to say really quickly, thank you for the super chat. Sweeted Bacon, super chat. You've assisted too many video editors, and I just want to say that you're awesome. No, you're awesome, my friend. Those super chats are so helpful for me. One of the things I don't talk about a lot. I make a lot of shorts, which are real. I think a lot of you guys like them because they're quick tips. We do the live streams for longer conversations, but the shorts, man, I've made, what am I at? I don't even know. Tens of millions of views. And I think I've made $2,000, $3,000 on all of them combined. There's no money in it. So when you guys drop super chats and give super thanks, I really appreciate that. It's one of the things that helps me buy new equipment, test out new things, afford to do all of these tutorials every day. So thank you. You're appreciated. You're awesome. I want to thank you for that. Just going through some of the comments. So there we go. DaVinci Resolve for noobs always helped. Yeah, so the way I try to build the channel is I do it, there's 4 pieces of the puzzle. There is DaVinci Resolve for noobs, the short series that I try to keep, they're 3 minutes or less. Typically they tend to be like a minute and a half. And they're all quick tips to just showing you, how do I use compression? I simple questions we might get here and you want a fast answer. Those are all how do I do this? I try to do them quickly and effectively to give you the answer, get out of your way and let you get back to work. The longer form videos is where we start getting into a little more theory, where we get down the rabbit hole of one thing. Like the longer form will, decide how we want to make a certain effect or do something specific, or how to learn how to color grade or things like that. And then the live streams we do here just for this. I like being able to talk to you guys and kind of work in real time and discover. You saw me discover the keyframing for the audio in real time. Oh crap. They are down there. They're just turned off. We have to turn them on. So I like doing live streams where we can have conversations. We can talk to each other. You guys always have the best comments. So I also do community tab posts. A lot of times, if you don't read my community tab posts, pay attention, because I use those a lot of times to do things like show if there's a new, DaVinci Resolve supports VST plugins, which are Steinberg's, plugins that are audio plugins. So there's a lot of free compressors, effects, distortion, all these cool audio effects that you can install on your system the same like you would install a font. And then when you restart DaVinci Resolve, it recognizes them, and it's like, oh, I got this cool professional compressor, or I got this, whatever, cool other, I think I post those in my community tab. I'll make like a post and go, here it is, here's the link, go check it out. So I try to use all the different formats, long form, short form, live streaming, and community tab posts to tell you guys about stuff, to keep everybody updated if I think I find something cool. But also on my channel, we do have the community tab option, communities, which allows you to go to my community tab and you can start a conversation, and you can actually do things like post a picture where you can say, I'm having trouble. DaVinci Resolve is acting stupid and I can't figure this out. And you can post a picture of like what it is that you've got going on and go and circle it and go like, right here, I can't figure out why I can't, this isn't working, or that's turned off. And it allows you guys to start conversations, not just reply to conversations. So I love all those factors of YouTube, and I try to use all of them together. Oh man, it would be amazing if there's a Discord in this. Oh, just a perfect example, right? So my communities is the closest thing to a Discord, because you can start the conversation. Other people can reply. You don't need to wait for me to start a conversation and reply to it. So I probably won't start a Discord, only because, man, all the different, like I work on Twitter, I work on Facebook, I have a Facebook group that's specifically for channel members where we talk about, video editing and, more importantly, how to grow a YouTube channel. So I'm in and out of so many groups. It makes it really hard for me to keep up with it. And the only reason I haven't started a Discord is I don't think I'd be able to do it justice. The amount of time that is going on in my world, I wouldn't be able to devote the amount of time I'd want to devote to it. So I haven't done it. So I try to stay on YouTube. So when people post to YouTube, I can reply to all the comments. And if there's a communities post that they started, I can reply to those too and let other people reply. So maybe one day, but I'm going to have to figure out a way to find more time. Could you show sequential compression? Yeah, audio engineers are recommending top and bottom separately. Yeah, I've shown that. It's actually, the way you want to do it is what they call multiband compression. And I've got a whole video on that. We did a live stream on that recently where I showed how to make your mic sound better, and we walked through all of that. So dig back through a couple of streams back. We talked about how to make your audio, a cheap mic sound great. And we talked about compression, EQ, multiband compression. Multiband compression basically looks like the spectrum, low to high, and not just low and high separately. It allows you to isolate 4 sections: the lows, the low mids, the mid highs, and the highs. You can set the different sections and compress them differently. You're absolutely right. It's something, I come from an audio background, and we used to always use multiband compression for mastering our albums and everything, but it's really great for things like your vocal and kind of dialing it in. It's almost like EQing and compressing at the same time, so that you can really control the different parts, just the lows, just the highs, and dial it in. That's on a live stream. Definitely dial back to the last few. Really, really cool stuff. We went down the rabbit hole. What's happening? You're getting a new Neo laptop in June, and the tips you have given have really helped me excited to edit. Hey, cool, man. Appreciate that. I don't know if Malara Romero Music, I'm seeing like, you could be female or male. I'm going to say you. I'm excited for you. Yeah, new gear day is the best. I love new gear. Every time I get new gear, which is funny because like DaVinci Resolve occasionally sends me things. They've sent me out some of the hardware, and when certain parts of the hardware come with licenses included, and every time I get new hardware, I take the studio license and I give them away to you guys. Usually I tend to do that on Twitter a lot, so definitely follow me on Twitter. The next time, if I get any new gear this year, they have NAB coming up. I'm going out to NAB in Las Vegas, where Blackmagic Design has a huge presence. I'll probably be talking to Terry, and he's going to be sending me out some new stuff. I don't know if anything has licenses attached, but I'll tell you what, I promise if there are any new licenses that come up on YouTube, my community tab post, I will let everybody know, and maybe we'll do like a live stream and give them away or something like that. Because I like giving, I don't need another license. I paid for mine. I love it. So I just give away the ones I get. Cool question here was, how much better is After Effects than Fusion? I don't know that it is. It's just different. After Effects is a layer-based compositing software, and Fusion is a node-based compositing software. They're just different. They effectively do the same thing, but one's node-based, one's layer-based. And if you follow guys like Jamie Fenn, Fenn on YouTube, I got to have Jamie on sometime. He's been on before, but for a different reason. Jamie does amazing stuff with Fusion. It's crazy. I mean, it's just compositing, and it's really the limits of your mind, whatever you want to do. I mean, you can do crazy stuff with Fusion. And also Casey Ferris shows some pretty awesome stuff. I mean, full 3D. He's built full 3D moving chess sets, in a 3D space. It's not that one is better than the other. It's sort of like your workflow. Do you prefer paying every year a subscription fee for After Effects and having it be a separate software? Or would you rather buy one lifetime license and be inside of Fusion and never have to pay again and have it inside the software where you don't have to switch? It's just your preference. They're both very good. Let's see. The best color grading for your Valorant montages. Hey, color grading is subjective, much like audio processing. It's what looks right to you and what you feel is great. Twice on this channel, I have had Darren Mostyn, who is a professional colorist. That's all he does for a living, specifically using DaVinci Resolve. He does television broadcast stuff for the BBC, for Turner Network, for all the big broadcast companies across the planet. He's color graded for all of them. So he does high-end professional work, and he's been on the channel twice, 2 live streams. So if you want to talk about color grading, go back to my live stream tab, go down and find the 2 different ones that I've done with Darren, where he talks about like just color grading from the perspective of how to approach DaVinci Resolve from the professional colorist point of view. And it's awesome, man. He just has so many great tips. I'm a big fan of trying to teach you how to learn to use the color page and then letting you run with it, right? I don't want to, I can't tell someone, here's the best EQ setting for your mic, because our voices are different and your mic might be different and everything's a little bit different. So it's about learning how to get your audio to sound good and then run with it. The same with color. Learn how to control color and learn how to read the scopes so that your color grading is color correction is right, your exposure is set right, and hopefully, you can dial in a look that makes sense for your footage and looks good when you upload it somewhere. Let me see. I'm just rolling through here. Let me see. Hey, bro, love from Nepal. Hey, what's going on, my friend? Just remembered you when it comes to DaVinci Resolve. Hey, I'm still here. When it comes to DaVinci Resolve, I'm here. I'm here, my friend. Here's Tish saying, member for 76 months. Yeah, battalion member. As always, grateful for the way you break things down as well as transparent about your own learning. You're the best, dude. Love you too, Tish. Tish and I know Tish and I have met at some of the different conferences I've spoken at and stuff. I think Vid Summit, VidCon, one of those things. I haven't seen you in a minute, but yeah, it's good. It's been great to have you. Great to have you around, my friend. Tish is one of those people who's just been around with us forever. So let me see. How do you record a stream? How do you record or stream when you don't feel like it? It's a big question right there, huh? Real hot rod. Yeah, exactly. It's tough. I don't think I've told anybody. A lot of you know Megan is here. She's in the chat. Megan and I have been dating for longer than some of you have been alive. That's not going to lie. And we just recently got engaged. We're going to be getting married next year. And it's been a lot. Like, there's a lot going on in our lives in general. And she runs the office. She's been running the office for the last 5 or 6 years, and just holds it all together for me. She does all the heavy lifting. So one of the ways I keep moving is I make sure that the stuff that bogs me down, I have people in place to handle that stuff for me who are better equipped to handle, the sponsors and answering emails. I mean, my job is to make content and show up in the comments section and answer questions. When I feel unmotivated, you guys are really important. A lot of times you guys will ask great questions, and that spurs me on to want to have a conversation about it. So I'm a big fan of build community, and it doesn't have to be a big community. If you have people who have a similar experience or similar passions, like we all here love editing, and a lot of us right now are using DaVinci Resolve. So you have those sort of your clan, your tribe. So you guys are my tribe, and when you guys are around, a lot of times you guys lift me up because you guys just have great comments and conversations that allow me to go, oh, I don't feel like doing something today. But a lot of people have been asking me about keyframing. I'm like, let's just dive in, do a little bit of keyframing. It's a great question. It is tricky. You can get burnout. Burnout is a real thing. And I think trying to, do your best to eat healthy, maybe exercise a little, stay hydrated, give yourself a break. Don't be afraid to take a break. It's one of the biggest things that I had to learn the hard way. Sometimes you just need to step away and go do something else. All of these guitars I have in the background, I do play. And a lot of times I'll just stop and I'll go make some music. And do something totally different because I need like to refresh my palate and get my brain in the right space. Take a vacation, take a trip, do anything, get away from the computer and come back. and that'll do it. Yeah, Darren is awesome. He's awesome. We got to have him back on. I got to have Mr. Alex Tech back on. I think I've only had him on once, and it's been a minute, so I'll call him too. We got to get these guys back on here this season. This one here, just joined from London, UK. Love your videos and shorts. Thank you so much. You've helped me to no end on DaVinci Resolve. Hey, listen, you guys have helped me, so I think we all help each other. That's what I love about this community is we're all, like sometimes people say like, why do you call us noobs? And I'm like, I'm the most proud noob here. I'm learning something new every day. I tell people I learn something new every day, and I just showed you in this stream, I found out something I didn't know. And that happens to me every single day. Will I remember all those things tomorrow? No, that's why I make videos. So a lot of times I'll go back to my own videos and go like, I know that I figured this out, but I haven't had to use it in a year and I don't remember where it was or how I did it. And I'll go back to my own video and go, oh, right, that's what it was. It's a constant learning process, and trying to learn all of DaVinci Resolve is a fool's errand. You're better off learning what you need for your workflow and then learning other things as you go. And it's good to know them, but I don't think I know anybody who has a full library knowledge of every single feature, how to use it in every single application. There's a few great guys out there that are much smarter than I am, but even they, when Darren Moston was on twice, he said, like, man, I'm a professional colorist. He goes, but I go over to the Fusion page, I open it up, and forget it. He goes, I know how to do a couple of things, but I live in the color page because I'm a colorist. So it's just, don't try to do everything. And I think that'll get you everywhere you need to be. Thank you to the congratulations. You guys appreciate that. It's fun. It's really fun. That's part of the reason, like, some of my uploads have been a little slower. We kind of took off a little time to go spend some time because we work so hard on building the channel and trying to make sure we keep you guys, the community, taken care of. Sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we get it right, but we need a break too. Super chat. Newbie question. Have you used the Avid Media Composer for video content? I did, right? Avid's pretty powerful because they were one of the originals. I've used them before. They also same company makes Pro Tools, I believe. And I've used Pro Tools a lot, the audio platform that a lot of musicians use and still use. I have. It's, I like it. I think it's good. It was one of the OG video editing software. It's just, I don't know that they've kept it up in the way. It hasn't evolved. Like you guys are using DaVinci Resolve. I swear to all that is holy, every 4 weeks or 3 weeks, there's a new update and they're rolling something new out and they've updated, added more features. They are so proactive about the software that it's, as much as I like some of the other softwares, I've just grown attached to DaVinci Resolve. It's just, it seems to do everything I need it to do. It's super pro level. It's got more than I could ever possibly use. And they keep adding new things. They listen to the community. They have a whole Blackmagic design forum where people can go in. It's kind of like a Discord. It's their own forum. You can ask questions. You can, all that stuff. And they really pay attention to what people ask for. So the team behind the product, forget about it. I mean, they keep telling me, like, I'm like, you guys aren't ever planning on changing the subscription model, are you? And they're like, nope. We our goal is to stay right the way we are. We'd like to sell more hardware, but DaVinci Resolve, we'd like to keep it just the way it is and just keep improving it. And they're just super nice guys. Get into nature, absolutely. That's a good way to take a break. Get your head out of the closet. So let's. Quick question here. What was this one? Quick question. What's the difference with Fusion clip and adjustment clip? So a Fusion clip. Let me just quickly go back over here. Right. It's a great question. A Fusion clip it's a Fusion composition, but yeah, Fusion clip. A Fusion clip is something that's going to open up in Fusion, right? So in general, if you were, let me give you an example. All right, let's say this piece of footage that we were using before where we zoomed in. If I right click on that and I make it a new Fusion clip, all it does is it prepares it. You can see it's now up in the upper left in my media pool right there. It turns it into a Fusion clip so that when I do open up in Fusion, I can begin to work on it in Fusion. Let's say whatever might happen here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I decided I wanted to, a million things you can do here. I wanted to add a blur. So click over here on the blur node, add a blur, and there's my blur, right? And I'm going to have it go, all right, it's going to start here. I've got the blur active here. I'm going to put the blur right now is turned all the way down. Let's set a keyframe. This is no different than what we just did over on the edit page. I am going to move the playhead forward to here. And at this point, I'm going to increase the blur to very blurry. And you can see it sets another keyframe in the upper right, goes forward, maintain that blur. We're going to do the same thing we were doing in the other. And then by the end, it goes back down to unblurred. So that's now a Fusion composition. So basically, all of this stuff is happening because I applied it in Fusion. And then back on the edit page, you'll see it does its thing. It still has all the zoom and stuff we added, but the blur, I did it all in Fusion. I turned that into a Fusion composition that is specific to the Fusion page that has other nodes encapsulated into it, added effects, etc. Okay. Now, and the other question was an adjustment clip. An adjustment clip is something that you're going to add into your timeline. Let me shrink these down. Let's say, and it's going to affect everything below it. Let's say I go up to the effects tab in the upper left right here, and I hit effects, and then I go down to the toolbox. I can go, it's actually under the effects tab, but you can search for it, adjustment clip, and I drag that down, and you put that in a track above your other tracks. Now, this adjustment clip is going to affect everything below it, everything. So here's a perfect example, right? Like I said, I got all this stuff going on. There's a crowd of people. What if I wanted it maybe I decided, yeah, I've got all this other stuff happening, but I kind of want the whole project right now to just zoom into the part where it says crowd of people. Do I have to now try to keyframe the text and keyframe the background and do them all separately? I want everything to do something. I can take that adjustment clip, click on it, and I can say, okay, where that text comes in, at that point, I'm going to put a keyframe. I'm going to move a little bit forward, and I'm going to zoom everything because I'm controlling it in the adjustment clip, which affects everything below it. And I'm going to bring that to, I don't know, maybe about like there. Maybe this is a dumb example, but okay, I wanted to do that. Now you can see everything that's happening is that adjustment clip controls everything below it. Some people use them to color grade. They'll go to the color page, and if they have a whole bunch of different clips in their timeline, they'll put an adjustment clip above everything, and they will then just color grade the adjustment clip because it affects every track below it. And that's basically what they do is they adjust all of the other tracks below them. The problems with adjustment clips is you can't save them in your power bins. If you know what power bins are things like, here's all my sound effects that, if you don't know where power bins are, by the way, they're up here. That's 3-dot ellipsis. Click on that and make sure it says show power bins. And these are basically just like your media folders, but power bins are things that open up with every new project if you're in the same database. So if I wanted to have all these different sound effects here, maybe I have some B-roll on my end screen that I always put at the end of my long form. I want that all available when I start a new project. You cannot put an adjustment clip up here. Well, now I'm saying that, and it just let me do it. I lied. You can put an adjustment clip. I'm having a moment. You can't do it with a compound clip. Okay, so adjustment clips you can do. I need more coffee. You can put them up here. You can't put a compound clip. If I put these all together, they would not let me. Adjustment clip, you can. So let me give an example. Let me give you a better example of this. Let's say this was a adjustment clip where it zoomed in. It was just this big. I'm going to put it this way here. That zooms in and goes to there. You can do that for stuff like, you know how I do like talking head stuff? My head is talking for sure. You can do things like set an adjustment clip that just zooms in. A lot of times I'll have footage of myself talking, being captured on camera, and I want to create just a quick zoom that goes from full screen just in a little bit. You could put that in an adjustment clip, then you could save that adjustment clip in a power bin. You could rename it, double left click on the name, and call that, zoom in and zoom out, right? So now I have zoom in and zoom out as an adjustment clip. And then instead of having to build that again, let's say I have a different piece of footage and I go, oh, I want that to zoom in and zoom out. I can bring my adjustment clip down. And what I can do is I can put it there. It's longer. I should have saved it as a shorter one. And it'll do that same motion. You can see I put it above it. So you can save things like if you have the ability to zoom or move or pan. So instead of having to program all that, you can put them in adjustment clip. It'll affect everything below it. You can save it up in wherever you want in your power bins, bring it back down later. The thing I was getting confused for a second, sorry, is a compound clip. You can take all of this stuff that I have going here, select it all, right click, and you can turn it into a new compound clip. If it lets me. Let me see, what am I doing wrong here? So new compound clip at the very top. Can you see right there? New compound clip. New compound clip, and you can name it whatever. What are we going to call this? Crowd. All right. It's now takes all of those things and combines them. All the same things are happening here, right? It's got fuzziness going on. The text will come in. It's all there, but it's turned it into a single compound clip so that it's one video track, one audio track. So we can take, even if you had a whole bunch of different, it's almost like exporting it, but it turns it all into one compound clip. These you cannot, you better not prove me wrong. You cannot drag these. You cannot drag these up into your power bins. You'll get this power bin not updated warning here. It just won't let you do it for whatever reason. It lets you do it with adjustment clips, not compound clips. But it's another way of combining things when you've got something all set and you just want to lock it all together. You can export these things, which is cool. And if you ever want to make a change in these, what's really cool, you can right click on it and you can, I have it set to a key bind. I don't remember where it is. You can do right here, open a new timeline, and it's going to open that compound clip. Let me turn on the display stack timelines. It's going to open that in a new timeline, and you can still adjust all this stuff here. So you're seeing all the components that went into the compound clip, and then back on your regular timeline, which is right here. There's my regular timeline, right? Then it'll allow you to adjust it in there. Let me decompose in place to the clips. There's the original timeline. So it allows you to do stuff like that, play around. Let me see, is that timeline 1 or timeline 2? Maybe I had timeline 1. That was the same one. So anyway, you can use compound clips that way where it combines all the elements and then has it into one single. I use those a lot in between projects when I'm doing, like I'll add a lot of keyframing in and have things going. I'll just turn it into one big compound clip. But yeah, adjustment clips, changing everything below, fusion clips, creating a package that allows you to quickly bring it into Fusion and work on it in Fusion. Let's see, what do we got right here? I'm literally learning how to edit with your videos. Awesome. That's me too. I'm learning as I go. I have moments where I get it all right and moments I get it all wrong. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's the whole goal here, is we all hopefully have a community where we can ask questions, try things out, play around, and see if we can. They change the software so much. Every time you blink, there's something new to learn, right? So I think it's really important to all learn together. Whoops, where is it? Where was the one? This question right here was, do you think shorts are more for exposure? You tell me. The vast majority of my content is shorts. Do I think they're for exposure? No, I think they're for people who like watching short form content. There's no question that I am a DaVinci Resolve Blackmagic brand ambassador. The reason that they brought me on board, I hadn't even reached out to them. They reached out to me and they had said, "Hey, we want to talk to you." And they kind of really quickly, I was talking to their marketing exec we had just met, and he said, "I'll be honest, we ask people how they're finding out about our product in DaVinci Resolve and where they're learning and why they're buying licenses." And he said the number one answer is Daniel Batal. So the majority of my content has been short form. I liked shorts, it wasn't for exposure. I felt there are too many long-winded live streams and videos like this that some people like, but there wasn't any quick, short answers to just give me the answer. I'm stumbling. Tell me how to do this so I can get back to my edit. There wasn't a lot of that when I started, so I thought shorts were a better way to do it. I think a lot of people learn on their phones. Seems kind of weird because DaVinci Resolve is a big, desktop software, but a lot of people just need a quick answer. I know a lot of people who watch my shorts. The biggest traffic source for my content is not the shorts feed, it's the search page. I get twice as many views. I get about 2 million views every 28 days from the shorts feed. I get about 4 or 5 million views every 28 days from search. I just because I think people like having quick answers. So exposure, I think, yeah, because I think they've helped me get in front of people, but I don't their content. I just think content is content. And I like them. I think that, people are on their phones a lot. So it's real easy to sort of grab your phone and go, "Oh, I want to learn." And they'll see something and then they'll run over their desk and go, "Oh, let me try that." So I think, it just lends itself. It lends itself to that. And people have different opinions, right? Right here, like Sarth said, shorts are good for quick learn, but not for deep one. Yeah, it depends, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, like I said, I dominate not only YouTube search, but Google search If you start looking up DaVinci Resolve questions on Google, you'll find a lot of my short form content. I think I don't like to cast aspersions on anything. Every form is different. People like to learn different ways, and some people hate long form content because it's too much information all at once. So it just depends on how you like to learn, and if you like to learn in small bites, I think shorts are great. So I'm a big fan of all of the stuff, right? I think as long as you take it seriously. A lot of people are making shorts by just clipping up long form content and throwing it out there like leftovers, and they don't work well. All of my shorts are filmed as original content. They're not cut from other things. I take the time to build them, film them, edit them, and put them out there for you guys because I think that the community deserves to be taken seriously and deserves to be met with original content, whatever it is, long form, short form. So, do you think the studio version of Resolve is worth it? I absolutely do. I also think the free version is worth it. It's worth every penny. I do, man. It's like, everyone I know who's I bought a license. I tried the free version for a week just to see if I liked it, if it felt like it was something that I would keep using. The minute I decided that I liked it, I bought it. It was like, it's a little bit different price depending on where you live, but it's about $300 for a lifetime license. It's crazy. And the amount of stuff you get with it, like the magic mask, that one click, you can remove the background from a piece of video instead of having to rotoscope. Stuff like we're seeing right here. If you grab an audio track, I'm just going to grab it. If you look up here, you've got all this crazy stuff like AI voice isolation, dialogue mixer, the music remixer, like this kind of stuff. You can take a music track, turn this on, and it'll take a song and you can go, I want to hear only the drums or just the guitar or just the voice, or take the voice out. I don't want to see the voice. It'll do all that stuff. And that's all studio options. When you get into Fusion, when you get into they give away about 85% of the software for free, but the 15% you get with the studio version is very high level, AI driven, cool effects, stuff that makes your life faster, one-click background removal with the magic mask. I think those things are what make it worth it. It's really about getting like the higher level of pro editing tools. So if you're interested in it, definitely check it out. I think it's worth it. And if it's not, if you're happy with the free version, use the free version. I don't think studio version, love it all. Here's another person who bought it and loves it. Yeah, it's free. For some people, listen, I say it's only $300. $300 is a lot of money. It's, that's not cheap. I mean, it's not super expensive. It's real money. $300, depending on who you are, where you live, that can be a lot of money. But so it can be a real investment. But if you're someone who takes it serious, knowing that they keep giving you the new updated versions included with the license, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. I think it's great. And I'm glad you love it. Here's one, less laggy. That is true. The way that the studio version works with your graphics card and GPU acceleration is a little more advanced than the free version, so it better utilizes your system. The free version has gotten better over time. They've improved it, but I think the studio version really starts performing a little bit more smoothly than the free version. Faster exports, things like that. I'm not even going to answer that last question in the chat. We do not steal software around here. I am not a fan of people stealing software, especially from a company that gives away 85% of it for free. Save your money. You insult guys like me who give away all this information for free when you try to steal software from great companies like DaVinci Resolve, Blackmagic Design, who are hardworking guys who spend all of that money. Every one of us who buys a studio light, I don't mean to be in a soapbox, but every one of us who pays money to DaVinci Resolve for their hardware or to buy a DaVinci Resolve license, that's what allows the free version to exist, and that's what allows them to continue giving away for one license price. So just think about that. I think it's important to try to do the right thing. If there's a company that you like, don't steal from them. Either use the free version or save up and buy the studio version. how do you stay, these are great questions. We've got enough the focus of keyframing, but I love questions from you guys. How do you stay focused editing for hours at a time? It's tricky. You know, it's really tricky. I break my projects up into bite-sized things. We should talk about that sometimes. I'll spend a whole day when I edit. I'll start with just all the cuts. I'll cut everything up first and spend the day just getting the pacing right so the audio sounds right. Like I'll do a long form video that I'm showing all these different features in DaVinci Resolve, and I'll just go through and I'll just cut up based on the audio so that the flow is right. So I feel like the way I'm listening to it and I'm editing just for the sound. Like I kind of block my head and I just put all the cuts to get the, you know, the lines I didn't say quite right. I cut them out. I use the better take and I get the flow right. And I'll stop. And once I get that sounding right, I'll go, I'm going to come back tomorrow. And now I need to figure out how to, you know, take the screenshot and zoom into different parts of the screen capture where I'm talking about different features, right? And I'll spend a whole nother day or a part of a day getting the zoom to work right. And then after I get that right, I'll take a break and I'll go, now I want to add like circles and arrows. So when I do zoom in and I'm pointing out a feature that I'm pointing right at it so people can see what I'm mentioning. And then I'll do things like very end, I'll add text or whatever. And then I'll, you know, so I do it in steps and I try to go, let me just get from point A to point B, get the cuts right and go take a break, go have lunch, go do something, come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. And that's my big thing is try to do steps, try not to eat the elephant in one big bite, try to eat the, you know, one bite at a time. And I think it works out. I think that's what really gets you where you want to be. For me anyway, that's what works for me. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. One more newbie question. Would you prefer Avid Pro Tools or Fairlight for music creation or editing YouTube content? For specifically YouTube content, I get this question a lot. Pro Tools is great, but Pro Tools is really like a true musician's software. I personally use a product called Reaper.fm. It's a little more affordable. It's very similar to Pro Tools. It's just a different manufacturer. I've used it for years. I use it to record all the music. You guys have seen me do some music videos on the channel before, and anytime I do music professionally, I use Reaper. That's kind of similar to Pro Tools. The Fairlight, which is a DAW, digital audio workstation, is really built around broadcast. So if you're just doing YouTube videos, Fairlight is fine because it's free. Everything's great, works great. You're right inside of the same software that you are editing your video with, so it makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't have all the support that a music-based digital audio workstation does. It doesn't support heavy MIDI, like you can't do like, you know, written MIDI parts, like creating drum tracks from MIDI, like automated drums and automated synth sections. It doesn't do that very well. It can, but it just lacks there. It's more based on broadcast, where it's designed to take, you know, visual stuff like the stuff that's going to be put on TV or put onto YouTube and give you the kind of audio tools that you would need for that application. So for, like you said, for YouTube, absolutely, I would use Fairlight. Keeps me all in the same software. I can just switch real quickly. I'm not opening up another software and having to make adjustments and come back. It's one of the things I don't like about Adobe because they have Premiere Pro, they have After Effects, they have Audition. And even though they all work together, you have to jump from one software to another. Where in Resolve, you just click the bottom of the page and it's like, whoop, you're right over here. Now you're inside of the audio section. Now you're in Fusion. Now you're in the color page. And I like that. I think that's what makes me love it. Thank you again for the super chat. Really appreciate that. How do you make a YouTube short but have some other shorts in it? I'm not sure I understand the question. I create everything originally. So, you know, you could always, if you've built other shorts, once they're built, you can do one of two things. You can export your other stuff and bring it over, and then take the export and bring it into your project. One of the things that's really cool about DaVinci Resolve is, let me see, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me do this. Let me share this again. I'll show you real quickly. One of the things I really love about DaVinci Resolve, right here. Nope, that's not what I want. I want to share. Nope, that's the infinite tunnel of death. Not what I wanted. I'll find it. Sorry about that. It is, let me see. I got to get this turned on. I'll bring it back up. I accidentally shut that off. Here. Okay. One of the things that's really cool about DaVinci Resolve is, like right now I have this little sample project open. If you go down, I'm down in the lower right here. See this little house icon? That's that project manager. If I click on that, it opens up the project manager, right? If you right click anywhere in the gray area, and you turn on dynamic project switching, just put a tick mark, and I'm just right clicking anywhere in any of the gray area. Make sure you have that ticked. Now I can open up let's say this, all right? I don't know what this one, oh, this is the live stream I did recently with Rick Beato and my pal Sully Yerno, the lead singer of Godsmack. I'll be posting this back up again soon. This was a lot of fun. I just opened up this project, right? And I'm working on this. But if you look at the very top, let me go up here. See where it says this one right here? There's a drop-down menu. That was the other project, Keyframing. And if I click on that, it opens up the other project. I've got 2 projects open at once. So a lot of times what you can do is, like, let's say you have another short that you worked on and you went, oh, here's that other short. I don't even have to export it. I can just grab the timeline, right click, and I can copy. I can switch over to this other project, and then I can decide, I don't want to ruin this project, but let's say I'm going to put the playhead at the end, and I can right click and paste it in. And if I stretch this back out, and I go down, here's that section. I grabbed it from, I opened 2 projects at once. Dynamic project switching allows you to open up more than one project. You can open up several, and you can grab things from one, connect it to the other. You can even open up multiple. You can grab the timeline from one project, bring it into this project, and now you can have them stacked and be looking at 2 projects at once. All of these options, if you start getting into some of the higher end functionality of DaVinci Resolve, it's a pro editing software, and there's almost nothing you can't do. So being able to switch back and forth is really, really simple to grab stuff from one project, bring it into another. That's one of my favorite ways I like using the DaVinci Resolve for bringing in stuff from other things I've worked on. FL Studio, yeah, Fruity Loops. Remember when it was Fruity Loops? I remember when it was Fruity Loops. That was a good one too. They've progressed it a lot in the years. My son, I've got a 20-year-old son now. I can't believe he's 20. And he makes music, and he uses FL Studio and loves it. I think the steps are, whoops, let me put that back on. I think the steps are a great idea. Let me go here. Let me go back. Let me face out of here. What do I have shared? Too many things shared. I think the steps are a great idea, like stress maximum. Yeah, spend 4 hours for the first minute of my edit, completely stressing and burning out. Yeah, simultaneously. Sorry, I'm working through this quickly. Casey Farris, who's, you know, Casey, he's a pal. He's been on he's been on the channel live a few times. Love him. Great guy. He made a video recently where he talked about being smart about things. Like, don't start your project and get so wrapped up in one little effect that you're, 2 minutes into the first project and you're spending the next 3 hours trying to get one little effect right. So by the time you finish it, you've got an hour's worth of video left to cut and go through. And, I think focusing on starting at the bottom and working your way up, build the foundations, just like building a house, build the foundation, then frame the house, then put on the siding, then put the shingles on, then, then go inside and start doing the electric and the plumbing and the insulation. So think about a process. If you get so super hung up on building like one effect that you burn out trying to get it right, it'll just kill you. I think it just beats the life out of you. So I think one of the things you want to think about is exactly what Casey preached, just like, don't try, rough it out, get it basically in place, and not tougher, get the main edit done, and then come back and fine tune stuff and make the cooler effect happen at that one part. Because I think, sometimes you can spend so much time on one thing that then looking back at the whole project, you're like, oh, that took me all that time to do one thing, and this whole project's going to take me forever. I think you're better off starting wide, roughing it in, get it roughed out, start dialing it in, then tweak it. We've talked about this live here, how I've two videos of talking about exactly how I edit, where I'll cut, then I'll make J cuts and L cuts afterwards and adjust where the frame cuts are from the audio to the video. All that stuff is really, really important to sort of finding your groove. So yeah, take your time, find a workflow that works for you. Totally agree. Keto Simple, love Casey. He's great. Let's see. Great show today. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be heading out of here too. Thank you. I hope you guys all have a great week, a great weekend, weekday. What are we on? Monday? I don't even know what day it is. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, feel free to hit me up in the comment section of this video or any other video. You guys know I spend a lot of time there. I appreciate your time today, and I hope you all go out there and make edits and make some great content, and keep enjoying DaVinci Resolve.